Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I am Peter. And joining me on the other side of the screen, you guys, I think we have an imposter. According to his passport, we got Bukaki Party here. That's not your name, is it?
It is. It's on the passport, man.
Okay.
The passport
Yeah,
doesn't lie.
sure it doesn't. And if you don't know what that is, you guys don't look it up. I'll say that. But how you doing, sir?
I am good and happy to be back. We got to get going and finish.
Absolutely. November 15th is just kind of right around the corner. At this point, we have not yet quite heard anything about part two. That's all we know is the release date, really. No new content yet. We got a blooper reel coming out of Geek Week, Netflix's Geek Week. So if you guys were not aware of that, you could check that out on the YouTube channel,
And
the
by the way,
official
I think
site.
I predicted that, right? In the last one, we were looking ahead to Geek Week, and I was like, something like a blooper reel. I mean, I hate to say I called it, but I think I called it.
You mean you hate to say I told you so? You know.
Yeah. Well, just, my predictions come
Sure.
true.
When you have a good pulse on the ongoings, of that is of Cobra Kai,
Yeah.
it's easier to kind of guesstimate, what may happen.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of the smaller stuff that right that really there's really nothing else to report in terms of Cobra
They
Kai.
honored Lego Cobra Kai.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, they did. Absolutely. And this is when Jacob and Sholo go on stage because the Lone Lobos, they were
Mhm.
there as kind of like color commentary, I guess, if you want to equate it to sports.
Yeah, 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 that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to see them, and we got to see them as kind of fans of other shows and things of this nature. But yeah, they did honor Lego Cobra Kai from social media. If you guys have Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, I don't think Lego Cobra Kai has a Facebook page. That's something I should actually look into. I don't think they do though. But they were honored with like the biggest fan or something, right? Coming out
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Netflix. So my apologies, I don't have the exact title with me, but that was really cool to Lego Cobra Kai is somebody we've been following for a few
what,
years now. And so
yeah,
somebody
we're
that we
following.
recognize
Mhm.
we recognize that's pretty awesome on like the biggest stage of the fandom. So really, really
Yeah, and
cool.
it made Geek Week kind of worth it for me because it had that disappointment, but I left the stream running and I saw that it kind of made me happy. So I'm very happy for Lego Cobra Kai. Great
Yeah,
job, great, and yeah, give it a follow if you haven't. It's just fun
absolutely.
content.
Yeah, and they are so quick with it too. So if they have the right pieces
Insanely quick.
yeah,
It's almost
how
ridiculous. Yeah.
so you know what I would imagine some people probably see Lego Cobra Kai's work before they see like the official, right? The
Oh,
official
yeah.
trailer. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's the other cool thing about it. On the more sad side of the Miyagi-verse and in the fandom, we did have another passing, that of Chad McQueen. If you guys are not one to be on social media, but Chad McQueen passed away just see on the 12th of September, I believe it was. And what I do have here is a tweet from John, and gave some really kind words as you'd imagine, but also dropped a few nuggets in like Dutch's could have been had he returned for the show. So
Yeah.
John said, yeah,
Yeah. Go
John
ahead.
says,
Go ahead.
yeah, Dutch may have been the purest Cobra of them all, merciless and dangerous through and through. That's what we loved about him. And it was all because of Chad McQueen's performance. When interviewing writers for Cobra Kai, if the candidate didn't know who Dutch was, it was an uphill battle for them. And if they brought him up unprompted, their chances of making the staff skyrocketed. Dutch was that important to us. We always wanted Chad McQueen to appear on the show, and it almost happened a couple of times. Chad was torn. His racing injuries limited his capabilities, but he loved the idea of playing again with his pal William Zabka. They had so much fun together while making Karate Kid. Before season six, word got to us that Chad decided he was ready to join the party. Josh, Hayden, and I flew out to his ranch to meet him in person for the very first time. He and his family greeted us warmly. He was as unique and hilarious as we'd heard from Billy all these years. He took us on a tour of his property and showed us some of the most incredible film and racing memorabilia we'd ever seen in person. The love and respect we had for the love and respect he had for his father's work was beautiful to witness. We left Chad's place excited and determined to make Dutch's return special. And yes, we dropped his name in episode 602, partly to keep him fresh in the audience's mind. We wrote a scene for him much later in the season. Dutch was still badass. The scene had pathos. It would had it would have blown young Josh, and Hayden's minds. Unfortunately, Chad was unable to join us when it came to shoot. At the end of the day, it wasn't meant to be. Dutch will always be remembered as a badass's badass in the Miyagi-verse. He kicked ass, he hated Danielle, and he loved riding bikes with his boys. The fandom mourns a Karate Kid legend today. I'm so grateful I had the honor of spending an afternoon with him, sending much love and strength to his wonderful family. May Chad rest in peace. So, man, what a tough year it's been. I
Yeah.
know a few people that work on the show also lost fathers this
Mm.
year. I lost
Hmm.
my father.
Yeah.
It's been a tough year, and I have some close friends and family who also lost fathers this year, and I have another close friend whose father is currently sick. So, oh man, wild year it's going to be. And then, I mean, and that's just like friends and family. For those
Mhm.
that have a pulse on like pop culture, we just lost James Earl Jones, John Amos,
No, we did.
both,
Yeah.
yeah, just some acting titans.
Legends. Yeah.
Legends indeed. So we will try to get past that, but yeah, very sad by the news of Chad McQueen. I know a lot of people who were still holding out hope for Dutch's return to the screen,
Yeah.
and so that's why I wanted to
Hmm.
share that tweet in particular, just because now we know that there was definitely a possibility.
Yeah, yeah. And I put out a video earlier this year that actually is one of the most popular videos I made this year. And it was about Dutch coming back, and I was looking at some signals, and I think and I think Chad decided, maybe it's now or never is what I said in the video. And I think from what John wrote there in that little uh, commemoration of him. I guess that was right. I think, Chad had decided he wanted to do it. But events, just fate had a different idea, and it just wasn't able to happen. It was, they had hoped it to happen, but it's not going to be. So, and I point this out because I've been getting some comments. Hey, maybe, John was misleading us, and, he'll be in it. No, John is a guy who actually shoots straight. Like, he doesn't actually mislead the fans, the way you think you are being misled, or maybe some other creators do that. But like, I actually think if Chad had filmed that scene, John would have said, you'll see him in episode 12. So it didn't happen, but we still have the Karate Kid, and a lot of great memories of him. So it continues.
Absolutely. Don't really know how else to move from that, but we will get into our review here of episode three from season six. So I guess season six, episode three. We've had this discussion when we talked about 602. This is titled Sleepers, written by Mateo Green,
Or
and
just Sleeper, right? It's singular.
uh, now you got me
Sleeper,
questioning.
yes. Yes,
It
I'm
is
looking at
singular.
it on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay,
Just
my bad.
Sleeper.
So just Sleeper. All
Sleepers is
right.
a movie, isn't it?
It is a movie. It is a
Yeah.
1990. Oh man, I
Yeah.
feel
It's
like
one of those
five or
90s, like
six.
early-ish
Yeah,
90s, or yeah,
yeah. Jason Patrick, I believe, is in it.
early mid. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon.
Hmm.
Some names for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it is Sleeper. Mateo Green wrote this episode and is directed for his first time on Cobra Kai, a upcomer by the name of Ralph Macchio. So
First time
this
ever,
episode.
right? I mean, it's his first like real directing gig, I think, right?
No.
Uh,
He did direct a short. Um, I'm trying to
a
remember if he
short?
wrote it. Yeah, it's on Netflix, and
Oh, it's on Netflix? I didn't know that.
actually a couple shorts according to IMDb. The only one I knew about was Across Grace Alley, that came out in 2013. This is the one that also stars like Karina Smirnoff, who was his dance partner in Dancing with the Stars. So yeah, he did write this episode. Um,
Direct.
wrote and directed this short film,
Just short.
not
Oh,
episode.
okay.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And also appears he also directed another short called Love Thy Brother. That one I'm not familiar with, and he also wrote that film.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
he's written and directed two shorts, according to his IMDb. But if you're not counting the shorts, then yes, first episode. So
Hmm.
a mini movie, I guess another short film. We want to look at it that way. So what do you think about Mr. Machio's episode here, Sleeper?
Well, I think this is the best episode of part one. It was my favorite. It was my favorite out of the gate when I first watched it. Doing a stream, and it's still my favorite. I think it hits the best parts. I like the story. Basically, so we got three storylines here. We got like the Johnny with the Sam and Tori stuff, coming to a conclusion, with a lot of the rivalry that's going on since season two with them. I think that wraps up really, really well. We have the Kreese and Kwan and the Korean side, which is actually phenomenal. Way better than I thought. Maybe even the best fight of the part one. Kwan against Yoon and the others. That was just like more fun and better than you would have expected if you just read it on paper. Um, and then of course we had the Miyagi mystery box here, which is maybe like this one is the setup. So it's just the setup. So there's no real there really is no payoff. So it's not like you say, oh, that was amazing. But it definitely introduces maybe like a much bigger world um very well.
Yeah, I agree with all of those points. The Miyagi box, what I love about that is though it introduces some new things about Mr. Miyagi, there's a few things that really big fans, I guess, are kind of privy to, and it's kind of fun to kind of go along the journey of this as like a
Like
kind of
with
like a bit
Daniel,
of
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's like Kazuki Miyagi, we know this name, and so we as the audience kind of feel like, hey, we know a little bit more than Daniel does, maybe, because at this point they haven't tied the next Karate Kid completely yet, and this episode's the first time that they do that, and we'll get there.
Hmm.
What'd you say about the Korea stuff, in Kwan and Yoon and all these people? It is very compelling. What I love about this group, and we'll get into it a little bit more later. I just wanted to kind of say, like, I love how this is not a dojo that is already established with like the captain and all these things. It is for Sensei Kim in a sense, but not in terms of competition. You throw a crease into the mix,
Hmm.
and now you have a team not too dissimilar from Team USA, right? Who are going to be built as the underdogs going into part two. But Cobra Kai, Korean Cobra Kai, they haven't quite all figured it out yet. They just, they will by the end of this episode have a new quote unquote team captain and a new sensei who is going to be calling the shots and, probably going to have a lot more lessons that this new dojo is going to have to learn. So they are going to have to learn things as Team USA are going to have to learn things. So yeah, I do think this was a pivotal episode in season six so far, in leading us down to some really intriguing storylines. So
Yeah.
as always, Amy provided the synopsis for season six, episode three. She says, it's party time for Carmen and Johnny, and everybody's ready to celebrate. Sam and Tori continue their tentative friendship. Amanda still wants chosen out of her kitchen, and Johnny and Daniel jump to the wacky but almost understandable conclusion that the ticking box on the doorstep is related to the Karate War. It's not. It's the gender reveal device, and Daniel gets an explosion of pink dye right in the face. Johnny is going to be a girl dad. In spite of what Johnny might think, girls aren't easy, and he's seeing that his alliance between Sam and Tori has thrown their dynamic off. Devin demands he fix it, and Johnny's solution is to host a slumber party in her basement. Because as he tells Devin, high school slumber parties always results in a drama and conflict. results in drama and conflict. The
Hmm.
girls are skeptical, but he pops in a slumber party badass mix, and they all get into it via musical montage. Try as he might, though, he can't break them up because girls aren't as easy to manipulate as he believes. It's not a failure, though. His mind games open a few wounds, and Sam and Tori open up to each other and finally clear the air. Johnny accidentally restored balance. Amanda and Daniel help Chosen move into Mr. Miyagi's room and discover a trapdoor full of secrets long hidden under the bed. Nothing in there makes any sense to them, so they embark on a mission around Los Angeles to find out who the Mr. Miyagi in that box was. They wind up a they wind up in a boxing gym owned by a man who apparently has a complicated relationship with the IRS and makes a run for it when they start asking questions. Which is fair because Daniel absolutely looks like he works for the IRS. Once they sort out the misunderstanding, they learn that the owner's grandfather was besties with Mr. Miyagi and knows about a side of him that Daniel was never aware of. He assures him that he was a great loyal man, but Daniel is shook by the news that Miyagi kept secrets from him. Mina and Chosen remind him that everybody has secrets and it doesn't mean anything, but Daniel is going Daniel is gonna Daniel this. One positive, however, is that he inspires Chosen to take a leap of faith. Oh, I'm sorry. However, is that it inspires Chosen to take a leap of faith. In Korea, Kreese is sizing up the talent among Sensei Kim's students and determines that Kwan is the one to watch. He manipulates emotions, injects a lot of toxicity, and manages to quickly restructure them into a team of soldiers ready to channel their hatred and anger in a way that will give them the edge over Miyagi-Do at the Sekai Tekai, which, by the way, we will learn will be taking place in Barcelona, and to everyone's surprise, will only allow a limited number of fighters from each dojo. And that's it. So thanks again, Amy, for the synopsis. She nailed it all, really, and even the parts where I was just a little surprised by some of the details. I'm like, oh wow, okay, because I like the IRS, for example, right? But I guess that
I'm
explains why
I'm
he made a
I'm
run
a
for it.
little interested. She made some conclusions because I mean, we'll get to it. Johnny concludes this episode saying girls are easy, but Amy insisted they're not. So, maybe this is going to be a debate for the fandom here. So,
Oh boy. Oh man.
I mean,
Well,
we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see. Well, let's get there.
we'll see. We'll get there. Indeed. We open up with a gender reveal party at the LaRusso's home. Lots of pink and blue decor. Carmen just got done dressing two dolls with white geese. One's wearing a blue belt and the other a pink belt. Yaya tells Carmen she better hope for a boy because raising girls is a nightmare. She said, at least the translation was girls, plural. Do you think there's any significance? Do you think
I
Carmen
think
has a
that's just speaking
sister?
generally. No, I don't necessarily know. Like, I mean, I think it's just a casual way. I mean, raising a girl versus just raising girls is a nightmare.
Right.
Um,
Kind of like how Johnny always like, oh, girls are easy, or,
mhm.
like I understand girls, or what all the language he's used, right? He's always said it in
Yeah,
plural as
I
well.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of a general. I mean, I'm more like that. I like that. Like Rosa's kind of rubbing that in at Carmen, and like,
Right.
ooh, I hope you go through this too.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, and like what we know about like Clement's relationship with Hector, Yaya probably wasn't a fan. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to have gone through everything that she did with Hector, I'm sure like Rosa as a mom is just like, I told you, he'd be bad. Like
I
something
don't.
like that maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Just not to just get off topic, but now this just reminded, why is it my mom always said to my sister, I'm so glad you had a boy, so you know what it's like. I don't know.
It sounds like you have some hard questions for your mom here.
Yeah.
So see, even Cobra Kai can give you some insight here. Like,
Maybe
wait a
maybe
tick.
that's just what mothers tell their daughters when
That
I
that
don't
that could be. Now I have to sit here and kind of, well, not to pat myself on the back or anything. I do have a brother where my mom says, why can't you be like your brother?
know.
But it's I think it's more of like, gosh, you're a fill in the blank age, right? Like you need to grow up. Look at your brother. He's doing this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But Anyway, it being the oldest, I usually go through everything first, so that set an
Mhm.
example for them. Anyway, Tori offers to help Sam. I'm glad she's welcomed here, as Robbie's girlfriend, right? Because we haven't really seen her with any of the family dynamic yet, right?
That is why she's there. Like I didn't actually piece it together because like I'm just like they're there together, but yeah, she's there because she's Robbie's girlfriend.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Because we've only seen Tori really kind of interact with the like Daniel and Amanda.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think back to season two. I don't think there was like a Carmen and Tori scene or even a moment or anything like that, right?
No, there really never has been. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't even get a Tori Amanda, and some people want that. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, the only Tori and Amanda were like the stuff from like season four,
Tori, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, but kind of different dynamics. But yeah, Amanda is at the fridge and yells for Anthony to come down. She thinks that little shit ate all of the cannolis. We quickly find out that it was Chosen who had a midnight snack. Now, those were made the day before and was chosen up late and he decided he was hungry.
I guess he did. He probably maybe he had never seen a cannoli before and was like, "Let me try this," and like it was good, and like then he like went back for more.
I could be reaching, but do you think this cannoli is like maybe a slight reference to like one of the chapters in Ralph's memoirs?
Um, I think it's a popular Italian dessert like
Okay.
that the LaRussos would have. I don't know.
I wonder if
So no,
chosen got the munchies late at night, ate all of the
yeah.
cannolis. Amanda is annoyed by this. She even hands him a tray of pink and blue labeled banquets so he can leave the kitchen. This is where we learned that it's been about 3 months since the events of season five.
Right, right.
Chosen asks Johnny if he wants a boy or girl. Johnny says he's good either way. Chosen gives him a look, and Daniel essentially says to not get ahead of himself when Johnny says that girls are easy. It's going to be the first of many of these. As I always say, it's like girls are easy.
What Johnny says, it's just his life, you know. So we'll see, we'll see.
We have a knock at the door, and Daniel questions who is 30 minutes early. I do wonder who was all invited as well, because do you think 30 minutes is that early?
Um,
I think that's, like if you're early, I think 30 minutes is good. I mean, 15 minutes is probably average for most people, right? If you're
yeah,
showing
but
up,
you know, at a party, most people are fashionably late. So,
yeah,
because usually if you're 30 minutes early, it's because you're helping set up. Um,
yeah. Johnny asked who it was, and Daniel says there was nobody there. They hear a ticking in the box, and Johnny
mhm.
thinks it's Kreese, to which Daniel doubts, questioning if Kreese would actually walk into a FedEx Kinko with a bomb. And this is also when we learned that they still haven't
That's
caught the
ticking.
snake. It's ticking, right?
Oh yeah, the snake.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or I do wonder if there were special instructions like, "Hey, pull this cord once it's like delivered on the package," right? So then it starts ticking.
that would be nice actually.
But the dealership from season three, we find out that they still haven't caught the snake yet. It's funny because it's one of those things that like the Applebee's, right? Like Johnny never finishes the story. So
Mhm.
Daniel's about to finish, but he's like, you know what, never mind. And so like we kind of move away from that. But what do you think happened there? Because I feel you must have thought about it.
Um, I did. And you're wondering, is the snake gonna come back at some point?
Oh,
Maybe the snake.
well, they haven't caught it. So okay, so you're saying like maybe one episode is just gonna cut to the snake like still kind of slithering around, like there it is.
Maybe it laid eggs and now it has baby snakes. Um,
Yikes. Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see. Maybe there's a fight in the dealership, and then the snake is coming by, and then that's kind of like in Home Alone where Kevin grabs the tarantula and puts it on Marv's face. No,
oh
Harry's,
right, yeah.
yeah, Marv's face. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
goes
like that.
back like that.
Yeah. Uh, Johnny instructs Daniel not to move because it might have a dead man switch, referencing Murtaugh. Wait, no.
Lethal Weapon too, right?
Yes. What was Danny Glover's name?
Oh, Murtaugh? Yeah.
It wasn't Murtaugh. Oh, yeah, okay. So referencing Murtaugh on the grapper in Lethal Weapon 2. In Lethal Weapon 2.
Mhm.
Um, we got to Chosen bringing a tray of pastries, which he arranged so that it was now balanced. Kind of a fun joke there. And then we hear an explosion with everyone reacting to where the sound is coming from. We first see Johnny enter the kitchen with pink paint on him, and Daniel mostly covered it in it. It says he's too old for this shit. We got to call back to the Lethal Weapon reference. What did you think this package was? Like, why is it exploding?
it was the dye or whatever the heck it was. Like I didn't think it was a bomb. I mean, I feel like they're almost pushing. I don't know, pushing it a little bit too much. Like maybe it's Crease that he left a ticking bomb, or Silver.
Yeah, no,
It seemed
I
kind of
know.
obvious. Yeah.
But in terms of like the gender reveal, like we've seen like the it's a big box and then you kind of flip the box over and then like the balloon floats up and to to reveal the color. But what do you think this was specifically? Like was something supposed to explode dye? You know what I mean? Like, when they count down
Um,
three, two, one, what are they doing? They're not letting something go, right? So something just exploded prematurely.
I
That's what I was
yeah,
wondering.
which is probably why they have the kid to begin with. No, um, but yeah, I guess it just went off too fast. Um,
Uh,
what it was supposed to explode on or something? I don't know.
yeah, it's just
Maybe it was supposed to, like, Johnny and Carmen were supposed to be the ones that get hit by the pink or something.
so. Many of them react to the news of it being a girl. Even Amanda is so excited that she grabs Chosen a little aggressively that he even winces. Now, did you think that she grabbed him where he was wounded, or just the fact that she grabbed him a little aggressively? Did you
I
notice
think it
that at
was
all?
I was taking it as she grabbed him aggressively, but maybe that is a nice touch. She like hit his back and he's like, "Oh," because I think she does, like, like hit, pat his back.
Right, right. Yeah, because it's all over this episode that
Hmm.
Amanda's just annoyed of Chosen.
Hmm.
Um, Johnny is going to be a girl dad, and he says to Robbie he's going to be a girl brother. Are you familiar with this term prior to this episode? Girl dad?
No, I mean,
So a girl dad was popularized. Okay, so I copied a little blurb. I'll just read that. The hashtag girl dad movement is a social media trend that started in early 2020 after the death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. The movement is a way for fathers to express their pride in being a girl dad and to celebrate the father-daughter relationship. Now, there's been, there's like other kind of like definitions as well, but the reason I used that one was because that's when I first heard it. Girl dad was after Kobe Bryant's
mhm.
accident,
Yeah.
helicopter accident, and so I don't know if when this was written, is that something like is
I feel
this
like
early
it's just more of
2020?
I no. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like it's just more a generic term,
Okay. Okay.
boy dad, girl dad,
Yeah.
because he has
Because
a
we
boy. He's like, I'm all right. I'm going to be a girl dad.
right. So I mean it's something that
So
we're
I'm it's easier than saying I'm going to be the father of a female human being.
oh
All
no
right,
no
just
I'm
say,
sure. Like
yeah,
like prior to 2020 I feel like oh it's a girl, and that's kind of it. But like
yeah.
just like that statement that says like it that's when most people started hearing it was following that because I believe it was his widow and his wife, that said like, he was a girl dad. And
Mhm.
because I remember people who were even kind of sharing because they thought that maybe it wasn't like something kind of wholesome, so like, wait, what, WTF does that mean kind of deal. So that I just remember it,
I
kind
I
of,
wouldn't make that association, but sure. I mean,
yeah,
the
yeah,
internet
yeah,
is the internet, so.
it is. We cut to Korea. Priest and Sensei Kim are walking, and she tells him that her students' abilities are exceeded what he had in America. At this point, we are also introduced to a few of our students. Min Sok is one of them. We also have Chung Hee. That's who. That's the first interview I had for season 6 with Sung Ho Park, and then
Mhm.
we're also going to meet Yoon, who's played by Daniel J. Kim, and also Kwon, played by Brandon H. Lee. Uh, yes, they are observing the students, and we learned that they are practicing what's called the Viper attack. The first one, Yoon, we learned that his family has trained in the dojang for generations. Now, when
Mhm.
I heard this, I did wonder if it's like if he had any relatives that had been there while Kreese and Silver were also training.
Um, Presumably if it's been generations, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I mean, I'm sure it's also possible like there could have been a break too, right? Until there was like another,
Obviously, yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
Maybe that's just their preferred kind of dojang to train under.
Hmm.
He even wears a badge on his blouse because he is their best student.
Did you call it a
And
blouse?
top,
Gi?
I don't know.
I,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
gi. I feel like the whole
uniform.
thing,
I
no, because the reason I said blouse is because like my dress uniform when I was in the army, we also referred to the top as the blouse.
Hmm.
So I guess I could just say top.
I don't. Yeah,
I don't know
I don't
on
know
his gi.
Korean word. When I did Taekwondo, we called it uniform, and I got really used
Okay,
to just calling it uniform.
okay.
That like coming back to the show, they call it gi. It's like, oh, okay, gi, but yeah,
Maybe they carried on the gi because that's the language that was used in Anakin, maybe
in
just
the
kind of
movie,
keep
yeah,
it
oh, for sure,
right.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
probably why. Okay, on his uniform, I'll say on his uniform,
Okay.
because he is their best student. She says to him, yeah, anything you ask him, he will execute to perfection. So,
Hmm.
for those that didn't hear the interview, I did ask Daniel about his character of Yoon, and I told that I felt like Yoon wasn't a yes man, but that he was just like a really good soldier type, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And he says that that's actually kind of how Yoon was described to him as from the creators. What do you think about Yoon? Did you have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, you get the impression like he's the well, I was gonna say like by the numbers guy,
Yeah.
like he knows it, the precision, the cooks. And okay, I know you don't know Harry Potter, but it just like I was just thinking like for those of you who like know the Harry Potter, it was like he's like the Hermione. She knows everything like by the book, and it's just perfect. She can do everything, every spell perfectly. But then like Harry was better at Defense of the Dark Arts because he could sort of improvise. He could feel a spell like what's coming and the react in the moment and sort of that moment, which is where Harry maybe was better and then Hermione in like those particular situations. If you know
Okay. I
Harry
mean,
Potter, I think you would
yeah,
get that comparison.
I do know that much. I mean, I saw the first four movies.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
just didn't get to watch the back four. I think is a total of eight movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
I
what the
think
books are.
at
Yeah.
some point I want to go back and rewatch just all of it, just binge
Mhm.
and finally get to the last four. But I definitely get that reference. Who would you say is Ron Weasley? It'd be
I
like
guess
Chung
the
Hee or Min Sung.
I don't
What are
know.
those? What are those guys? Maybe.
Stingray.
Fair. Okay. Actually, wouldn't be he be like Hagrid? Is that right?
Yeah,
The bit
maybe.
kind of looks that way a little bit. We do see another student. We will learn that this is Quan. He cuts in line, and now, do you think he knows that they're being observed? Like, is
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. He a
and
little bit of a show off.
right, right. Okay, there it is. Yeah, he's showing off a little bit because there's like somebody there that's talking to like, his sensei, right? So, because I
Right,
was like,
right.
yeah, he did cut in line. Like, why are you cutting in line?
And
Um,
why would he cut in line then and not earlier? Right? If he was
right,
going to cut
in
in
front of
line, yeah,
Yoon, or maybe
yeah.
at this point he's just like, well, Yoon's the best fighter,
Mhm.
So, yeah, interesting to kind of see where their headspaces are again. Like, we're just being introduced to them right now for the first time. So, a very interesting dynamic, this Dojang.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Kwon instructs the other student, who's Chung Hee, to hold the board higher and is able to execute the combo a little bit more uh, strongly, impressively.
Well, he doesn't even do the combo at all. He just does the kick to the top because it's like a couple
Okay.
punches and something, and then the high
There's like
kick.
yeah, there's like a kick where you kind of rotate your body
Yeah,
with a spinning back kick. I don't know.
yeah.
It's cool looking. I'll tell you that. Um, let's see. I do love how like I said, like he's not a student already, and that he's like kind of a troublemaker.
Mhm.
He runs his mouth to the other students a little bit, which gets him in trouble. Once into Kim, who tells him that his new assignment is to clean her grandfather's toilet. We get some dialogue from Sensei Kim that Kwon has always been a troublemaker, and that he's rebellious and is a distraction. He's
He
basically
says,
defies.
you know,
Oh, I got this.
or I was gonna, sorry to cut you off,
Oh, yeah,
but
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
like Klein, like he's talking about it. Just go for the head, no fight. Doesn't that sound a little bit like Terry Silver? A man has no head, he can't fight.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's definitely maybe there was some. I don't know. Yeah, actually, I had not thought about that actually.
Mhm.
But well, I was gonna say like maybe like the roots are still from like Master Kim or something. Man can't
Yeah.
see, he can't fight. Like maybe the Quicksilver method. Like that. It has some colors right from Master Kim's teachings as well.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sure it did. Yeah.
Yeah. We cut to Miyagi-Do. Johnny walks by and sees Sam and Tori doing kata, and he has them spar each other. They're both apprehensive and are clearly holding back. Devin walks up to Miguel and Robbie and says that their girlfriends are broken and questions what did they do. They say they didn't do anything, and it's because they're friends now. But I think a lot of people agree, but I think maybe they just don't want to hurt the other, and they kind of like start all over again, right?
It's the
So
polar
no,
opposite from them before.
yeah.
I thought it would be fun. Like because I like that Devin's like observing it too and recognizes it. We don't really know how much Devin knows about their rivalry because it never really involved her. It happened without her essentially. But I thought it would be funny if Devin just jumped in there and beat them both up, like as a
Oh
way
yeah.
of expressing her disapproval. I don't know. It didn't happen, obviously, but
Yeah, I was about to say slap them both and be like, get your hands out of your asses or something. I don't know.
mhm,
But that would be out of character. But we're gonna see something in the next episode that's a little out of character too.
mhm,
But yeah, that'd be fun to kind of see her take the both of them on, and
yeah,
then that might be a little bit tougher to. I don't know. I don't know. We'll kind of save some of this talk for episode 4 because of
yeah.
reasons. Um, let's see. Miguel says that they went from Cold War to peace, and Devin says, "Yeah, peace of crap fighting."
Mhm.
Devin addresses her concern and questions Johnny. How are they going to lead the dojo to victory? Johnny also acknowledges something is wrong, in that they're going to get their asses kicked. We cut to Hawk, Kenny, Nate, and Chris. We're all excited about the upcoming announcement of which country will be hosting the Sekai Taikai. Kenny is looking for, or is hoping for Germany because his dad will be stationed there next month. And Chris is hoping for Taiwan because he wants some Din Tai Fung. Now, have you had Din Tai Fung?
If I did, I don't remember it.
Okay.
I mean, I've had different, dishes from, all over the world. So I might have, but I don't remember that one. So,
Yeah, Din Tai Fung is, I would say that they're probably kind of known for like their dumplings, and it has like the soup in it as well.
okay.
But yeah, a lot of great dishes. But it's a really we love it. We're fans of it. My sister used to work there. My oldest son used to work there. Uh, but I was wondering where else has Chris had it? Because Nate has to tell him like there's a location in Glendale, which I
Mhm.
feel is probably a lot more local to them. So I was like, what, Chris only familiar with Din Tai Fung like abroad or something? That'd be kind of funny. Like he's only
Yeah.
gone to Taiwan and had it there or something.
Yeah. Glendale's past Burbank.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
yeah. Yeah. Between like Burbank and Pasadena.
I see.
But
Amanda and Daniel arrive at the dojo, and Johnny shares his displeasure with Sam and Tori's performances. And Daniel tells him that he's got this. Tells that tells Johnny he's a girl dad.
mhm,
And then Johnny tells Devin to call her dad and to let him know that she's having people over. Now, I
mhm.
do wonder why does Johnny say dad, like not say parents? Are we assuming single dad?
Oh, her mom died of cancer.
Oh, right. That is something that we did learn. Holy cow, I forgot that detail. That's the
Yeah,
thing with
you know
Tori.
what?
Oh
I
my
I
gosh.
mean, not to mention, I think that the Cobra guys might have forgot it too because they were like speculating that or something.
Oh man,
But
that's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
Okay,
um,
yeah, when they released their episode, I was like, oh man, because we had some things that happened in between our recording as well. But I've been looking forward to like hearing their
mhm,
stuff because
yeah,
I if they're going over theories, I want to hear what they think, obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, definitely forgot that detail. That's something that her and Tori bonded over. gosh, in Z, yeah, early, was it 501? It was 501, right? I think it was the first
Tori
episode.
Devon,
Yeah,
506.
506. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it was when
Oh
Silver
man,
bought the dojo
that's
and
kind of
Sensei
what
Kim just came in. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Like the first episode that like Sensei Kim and stuff. You kind of forget that that comes out in Ouroboros, um,
yeah.
because yeah, they don't get introduced until the second half. Oh, wild.
Mhm.
See, all right. I do believe that Johnny picks this place because he wants like a neutral ground, right? We're not going to go to Tori's place, and definitely not the LaRusso's. We
Yeah,
cut in
and I think Devin organizing it just puts a good like
another girl
setup to
too,
it.
though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We cut inside Mr. Miyagi's bedroom, and they are boxing things up. They are apparently are moving Chosen in. Chosen is all about being comfortable. He wants a new mattress, preferably, preferably, Tempur-Pedic, one that's comfy. He uses that word a lot because he talked about the couch too in season 5. Questions if Miyagi ran fiber optic internet because the reception's not so great. And there's an
Yeah.
interesting moment when Chosen mentions that he doesn't have to go back to Okinawa, and Daniel gives Daniel, excuse me, a look. But I thought it would still be okay if he just wasn't staying with them, right? Like, why is Amanda giving him a look like she really wants him gone? No? Do you get that
I
sense?
I mean, I think Amanda's happy like he's moving out, and I think like actually moving in to, Miyagi's old home or whatever makes sense. So I think she's just giving him a look because he's actually a little bit like Anthony here. Because
Little
remember,
extra
Anthony was
here.
like, what's the Wi-Fi password?
Okay,
Um,
okay. So it's more of like, oh God, he's really, again, being a little extra as opposed to
yeah,
like, oh great, he's not going back to Okinawa now.
right.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, I've read that completely differently. Daniel helps Chosen move the bed, and they find the mysterious box hidden under the floorboard. And then we cut back to Korea, where Sensei Kim introduces her class to Kreese. He gives us a little backstory about Johnny. So he trained him to be the best of the best, how he dominated everyone he faced, and then he ultimately lost to Daniel because Daniel had more heart. He questions the class, how do we defeat someone with more heart? And of the bunch, Quan is the one who gets his attention by saying, basically, to kill a heart. He thinks that
I
Quan,
like the answers they give on that because it's kind of like uh um what is it? It's like have no heart or no, well, like how do you beat someone? Someone's like train harder, have no heart. And then Yoon, like the good student, right? Like he says, have heart as well, or whatever it
right,
is with the
yes,
exact
yeah,
line, have more, have heart. And of course in like creases, it's like, and you ever when you were in school and your teacher's like, and your teacher's like, no, good but no, and it's like he's looking, and then Quan just shoots out his, rip his heart out, and it's like that's the answer Kreese was looking for.
right. You know what's so funny is like I think literally just yesterday I came across like this Instagram reel, like you might as well call it like a TikTok video because I'm sure it was shared there as well.
Mhm.
And I think it was an actual teacher, making this video of like the different types of teachers you will come across kind of the deal.
Mhm.
And one of them was like, the teacher that's just like, no, that's not quite it. That's not quite it. And this is exactly that,
Yeah.
where it's like,
Mhm.
we're getting warmer, you guys, like, but that's not it. But yeah, I like how Yoon does kind of speak with a little bit of confidence. He's like, you guys are lame. This is the answer. Look, have heart too, Sensei.
Yeah.
No, that ain't it. No, just no,
Like,
kill the heart. Did you feel any of it was brown nosing? It's like, oh, this is what he wants to hear. Do you think any of them actually believed what they answered with?
um I mean, I would say yes, but I think in a situation like this, it's always because you're trying to think of the answer your teacher's looking for. So it is a little bit both. Like, what do I think
Yeah.
it is, and what is the answer? So I mean, I don't really even know if you can distinguish the two, um,
Okay.
because yeah, that's it. Of course, they don't know Crease either. So is this the first time Crease is admitting Johnny lost because Daniel had heart? Like, are we? I mean, is it? Do we agree with that? Like, And is it interesting that this is the first time we see Kreese admitting that too?
I think so because he mentions, like Daniel was a scrawny runt or something like that,
Yeah,
and even admits to the audience where it's I think often I don't think it's like often heavily debated per se, but he does reveal like with like 6 weeks of training, he's just flabbergasted like this kid literally just learned karate and then beat my best pupil, just
yeah.
so I do think he acknowledges is that well it wasn't strength. The kid didn't have that much experience. I guess it's hard. Like he actually had the drive, and um I just think he had a better teacher. That's just me
Is
though.
it
But
also him looking back on the events of like Karate Kid 2, when he like choked Johnny and did all that, you're nothing, you're a loser. Is it like you lost because he had heart or something? I don't
that's a really good question to kind of break that down a little bit further.
yeah.
I don't know. I would love to hear what some of the listeners think as well into kind of this yeah little speech given by Kreese here.
Yeah.
Tori and Sam walk up to Devon's. They're clearly in the dark as to what Johnny is up to. Sam mentions that she has one of Devon's shoe just in case Johnny decided to throw them into a creek or quicksand. And what did you think she meant by that?
A
I
Johnny training session.
Yeah, but the whole like she has one shoe. She has one of Devon's shoes just in case Johnny decided to throw them into the creek. Because I was like, oh, does she have like an extra pair of Devon's just like for backup? Or I was like, wait a minute. Or if
I
they
don't, oh,
get lost in the creek or stuck in quicksand,
I think
the
it's
sh
shoes. I mean, yeah, the subtitles, it's just shoes.
hmm,
Um, so I think, yeah, I mean, I think she brought her own shoes.
it was just confusing to me. Um, okay. So Devon
Oh,
opens.
yeah. Okay. No, she says I'm wearing waterproof shoes. That's what she said.
Oh, waterproof shoes, not one of Devin's shoes. See, this is
Yeah.
where when you're taking notes off subtitles goes wrong.
Yeah.
Wow, wearing
Yeah.
waterproof shoes. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna have to go back and like listen for like Mary's dictation too.
Yeah. Mhm.
Interesting. So Devin opens up the door and is happy that they made it. They go downstairs to the basement, and Johnny surprises them to a night of Miyagi-Do after dark. Um, You guys probably heard it at the top of the episode because that's what I plan on playing. But I just love Mary's delivery when he's like, what's his name? He says
Miyagi-Do
Miyagi-Do
nights.
after dark. Yeah, yeah. Well, Miyagi-Do nights. Yeah, she's like, no. And so I just thought it's probably I think the funniest delivery she's had on the show of Vinny line. I just thought it was so funny. Anyway, and then the exchange here between Johnny and Sam asked. Let's see. And Sam asked to what it be. Oh, I think I was just commenting that that's what I really enjoyed here. Devin's clearly excited because she's never had one before and went as far as to pick up all of the nail polish colors. While the other two are a little flabbergasted that Johnny is joining them, to which he reminded them that he's a girl dad now. Devin's a little apprehensive about the idea, but Johnny tells her about how he's learned about some of the nonstop drama at Allie's, which now Amy just nailed in the synopsis as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
Anything to add to this beginning part here? We see the decorations, there are a lot of pink balloons. Um, Down in the basement. Hey,
Yeah, I
there's a
think
room.
like okay, yeah, what did I write? Like I like so I think in Johnny's mind, this is like another training session, but it's done at a sleepover.
Right,
Yeah, and I like and I also like the idea that like he knows about sleepovers from Allie or whatever, and he's a girl dad, so he's definitely got his self-confidence here.
right. Um, We went to Miyagi's room, and the three are discussing whether or not they should open up the box. Um, I thought the dialogue was great here, and it's really informing the audience. And Amanda's kind of like reminding all of us that Mr. Miyagi could possibly be the greatest man to have ever lived. And why not open the box? While Chosen is kind of warning that maybe it's things that we might not want to see since it was hidden. Do you kind of remember? Like some of your thoughts the first time you were watching this? I
Hmm.
had meant to go back and watch my reaction because I did the live reaction during my first watch and see what I said or like kind of what my face looked like. Was I more confused or was I excited at the thought of like this mystery?
Well,
Because
I
yeah,
mean, part of the problem is when I first watched it, we had already gotten the interviews. We knew this was going to be like a season long thing with
oh
Danielle
right,
and
yeah,
Mr. Miyagi. So like, I mean, I knew stuff was going to come up like, and and I had even made videos on it and, speculating on some of the things. So like, I think when I was actually watching it, it was mostly like what I was expecting, um, I guess like and as we'll get to it, like the whole like boxing gym and stuff like that was a little unexpected to me, and they even teased boxing gloves. So like that part of it, that I definitely was surprised by some of the details. So that's the best way I could put that.
yeah. I did forget that it was shown in the trailer as well, and that was actually the last poster. Like what's inside the box, which I was really surprised since excuse me, since I had seen the screeners and I thought that that was going to be something kind of teased and not
Mhm.
really revealed. And then I was like, they showed a whole ass poster with the content, and so I thought
Mhm.
that was spoilery. But there we are, with a poster that got people pretty excited and puzzled for sure. Being
Exactly.
the last, yeah, yeah. So I think it definitely did its job. So some of the things that we do see in there, boxing gloves. We know that Mr. Miyagi had some uh, quote unquote training equipment. In the first film, we saw him, with like, like the umpire's padding and all these things.
Mhm.
So boxing gloves, it wasn't something completely out of left field. It's like, okay, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
He has Chinese currency. Well, we kind of know the story of like. Um, a Shimpo sensei, and
Mhm.
so maybe that's not directly tied, but that also was like, okay, yeah, sure, he may have traveled to China.
Mhm.
Also in there, are scrolls. I didn't count how many, but we're to kind of assume that, probably not too dissimilar from scrolls that Chosen, right? And also there's an
Oh, you think they're
article.
moves? You think they're moves?
Oh, what did you think they were?
I honestly I didn't think anything. Like I don't know what they are.
Oh,
I just saw scrolls. They could be letters,
sure.
or other things. Just like I made no attempt to even guess at what it is. So
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess I didn't, to kind of take your words, make an attempt to try to guess what they were. I just assumed, I just saw the scrolls and immediately thought, ah, moves. Because of season three, season four, when Anthony sees it, right? Um,
do you think they're moves he made himself? Because he didn't bring scrolls with him, unless we think he brought scrolls with him. But um,
oh yeah, it's possible. Since they're kind of quote unquote like course correcting some things, like
hmm,
maybe he did have some scrolls that Chosen just didn't have. These are clearly artifacts that Chosen wouldn't be privy to, especially like the name Kesuke, right? That's even a mystery to him.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, I always kind of assumed that there were scrolls, and then if you think back to that clip that I shared of Yuji from Steel City, I think you saw it too, Watch Party. I did share it on Instagram. I'm trying to remember if I shared it on X as well. But in the video, Yuji was asked, like, in his prime, who would have won between these people in fighting, blah, blah, blah. Yuji's answer was really interesting because he talks about like, well, like Chosen doesn't have the scrolls or something, right? And
Mhm.
so like that was also kind of vague. I'm like this, what scrolls? Like the scrolls
Mm.
that was in that box,
Oh,
scrolls that that he owns and maybe he hasn't studied. I don't know. What scrolls is Yuji talking about? So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's a big one. I'd love to hear some people's thoughts on that. What you guys think is on the scrolls? But yeah, I just assumed moves. And also, there's an article with a headline, "Police search for assailant," and it is dated May 3rd, 1947. After we're done with our review and before we get into feedback, I'm going to play an audio clip from Mike, aka Cobra Kai Wisdom. You guys heard him on the show before. He filled in for me to watch my, what was it that you guys did? The last trailer,
We did
was
the
it?
trailer, yeah, and
Okay,
he did the recap of season 5 too,
that's right. Yep,
which
yep.
is really good. Check it out if you haven't heard
Yes,
that one.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so he had shared on one of his Instagram lives, his theory about the box, and there were a lot of similar thoughts that I had as well. And he was so detailed with his.
Mhm.
Um, I reached out asking for an audio clip, oh, excuse me, for him to kind of explain, give more context and stuff like that. So he'll kind of open up with a bit of a history, talk about the 442nd, Mr. Miyagi as a young man, and that will all kind of like support his theory, and it's a pretty good one. And we'll talk a little bit more about what he says following the clip later on.
Mhm.
So. On the passport, it is Kisuke Miyagi that is named, not what we know as Nariyoshi Miyagi, which is the translated name on chosen sign from the airport in the Karate Kid Part 2. That's where they got the name Noriyoshi that was on the tombstone. So this one says Kisuke. Daniel is not familiar with this name, neither is Chosen, who kind of questions like, oh, he had a brother? Because
Mhm.
Chosen's been part of like the quote unquote family since he was a little boy, right? With his Uncle Sato and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Kisuke, for those that haven't seen the next Karate Kid and aren't on social media, if Kisuke Miyagi means nothing to you, it is the name that is mentioned in dialogue in the next Karate Kid when Mr. Miyagi is he's being honored.
Honored.
I
Yeah.
believe, yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
he's being honored, and among them is surviving members of the 442nd. Um, anyway, and so a lot of people, a lot of big fans of the Daniel trilogy were like, wait a minute, Nariyoshi is his name, what the hell is Kasuki? And so like many would say like, well, that's not our Miyagi basically. But if you've been following John, Josh, and Hayden for years, they have said any movie with Mr. Miyagi played by Pat Morita is canon. And so this drop of dialogue here, Kasugi Miyagi on the passport, it ties the next Karate Kid in that much more to to the universe. Uh, so we'll see what happens in the next 10 episodes. But that's the significance of that name. If you also missed me kind of mentioning it on like the season 6 part 1 recap. And also, just some of those other episodes I did with like, Kristen Baldwin, who I believe kind of shed some light on for. So, do you have any kind of thing to add before we kind of move on from what we just found in the box?
Does the box look like a spinoff?
It does. It does a limited series. Who knows?
Something. Yeah.
Just kind of briefly, we won't spend too much time on this, but do you think it would be like a limited series? Let's just say like like a 13 episode and that's it. Like hey, we know how it ends and this is where we're gonna end it in this life, and then you guys can fill in the gaps before Daniel arrives, or do you
I
think this
think
is
I think something like that maybe for some other spin-off idea. I think a Miyagi series, I think they would want to go at least a couple of seasons, maybe not as long as Cobra Kai, like maybe
no,
three
no.
seasons. Like
Wow.
3 seasons, like you can do early Japan to like America, World War II, and then like post-war, something like that's one, two, three. Um, Something like that.
Yeah,
Just throwing that out there. So
yeah. I'm still kind of I'm I would say no more than 2 seasons in my opinion,
two,
and
yeah.
I don't want them to possibly be like canceled before they get to tell their narrative. You know what I mean? So if it's a
Yeah.
lot more limited, a lot more tight, um, the one thing I would like to kind of see out of it is why did Miyagi choose to quote unquote not teach, right? Like, are we going to learn about previous students that he just Daniel's, there's clearly a lot of things Daniel doesn't know about, and I would like one of those things to be the reason why he was very apprehensive from teaching Daniel anything until after he got his ass kicked by the Cobras. You know,
Mm.
so I want to see that other relationship that kind of theorized in the video I made. So we go to Korea, but Reese is teaching the class a lesson, and it's a thing where it appears to be punishment for the group based off of like one person's actions, But because Sensei Kim is saying like she doesn't think that the class should be punished because of Kwan, but he says it's not punishment, but it's basically what we know it as punishment, right? Like if one person can ruin it for the entire group, the kind of deal.
Right. Yeah. And Kreese says that, thank Kwan or whatever it
Right.
is. Yeah.
Yoon sees the sensei talking and uses this moment to confront Kwon, and they go back and forth a little bit. Chong Hee he sets a sandbag behind Kwon, and Yoon pushes him over it. I do find it interesting that Kwon doesn't fight back at this point. Um, I don't know if it's because like he's still kind of in trouble, but the fact that he is holding back, it's just a matter of time right before that bubble bursts and he unleashes the beast, I guess. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's not ready to fight in front of the teacher, so to speak, yet, you
right.
know, because they have
It,
words and he's got attitude, but yeah, he's not ready to burst. He needs another,
a little push, right? A
nudge.
little
Yeah.
permission from a sensei,
Yeah.
yeah, because if he does that, there's he may be rebellious and troublemaker and all these things, but there's still some rules. He's not a complete avoider of rules. Um,
And actually, I just noticed that and Kreese dismisses the class right when like you knocks him over. It's like he's telling everyone, okay, go home. Like he doesn't give him
right.
a chance, let
Yeah,
it let
yeah.
it build and fester a little bit. And then of course none of them actually go home, but that's a whole nother story. I think
They all live there.
yeah,
These are all
that's
orphans.
a, I'm gonna say like that this is like a boarding school. It's like for
Yeah, yeah.
Korean karate or whatever.
This is like that bad
Tuxedo.
kids camp, right? They send
Yeah,
them off, and there's a bunch of drill sergeants, and this is what it is.
yeah,
Okay, you want to be a troublemaker? I'm gonna send you off to the Kims. You know,
yeah.
please don't.
Because
Um,
yeah, Chris comes back tomorrow, but no one knows.
right.
They just yeah.
We cut back to Devin's house and we get a montage of the slumber party. Johnny apparently made a mixtape for the evening, or maybe he had this back from the 80s. Who knows?
Oh, I think he had this on stock. You know what? Let's just say this is a mixtape he made for Allie for her slumber
Mm.
parties, which is
Ah.
why it's got like girls just want to have fun or something.
Could also
And
you know what it would be funny if he didn't even need to rewind it because she never played it and so he just started it at the very first song. Like I don't know
yeah,
if she made it for him. Do you think especially what he writes on the cassette tape itself, like do you think she's actually gonna humor him and actually listen to that? Maybe she would. I don't know.
they
um
were in a relationship, like she
well
knew
it,
who
yeah,
how he was.
yeah.
So,
What else do you think is on there? We got girls just want to have fun. What do you think?
well, this is the wrong question to ask me. I don't know.
That's fair. You
Uh,
did mention something like that when we did the needle drop episodes or
yeah.
needle drops episode. Yeah, I don't know. Anything would be a guess, but I'd like to hear what some people think might be on this playlist of Johnny's, this mixtape. Okay, let's see here. At one point, the girls all have face masks on, with the cucumbers on their eyes, and Johnny tries to instigate something between Sam and Tori. Tori's the only one who peeks out from under the mask and sees nothing's going on.
Yeah.
At one point, they're playing the Ouija board. Have you ever played the Ouija board?
I think when I was really little, like my sister and her friend brought it over. I guess it is a girl thing, isn't it? Like, so I think they
Uh,
they were doing some slumber party or something, and I was there. But
well, yeah, I was definitely playing it as well with cousins. Numerous times. I feel I probably
contacted the spirits. You did?
I won't get into all of that, but
Oh, okay.
let's just say I have played it with people at least 8 times. I feel as when I was
8.
younger.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
You have an
so
exact number.
I I mean I'm just thinking
Okay.
Yeah, it spanned over a few years.
Right.
Um, yeah. Anyway, but I do wonder, like they gotta know that Johnny's moving the Ouija board, right?
Oh,
And
yeah. I think like Johnny's being almost ridiculously obvious.
yeah,
Like, and my take is that because my question is why does Cemetery put up with it for so long? But my
yeah,
take is like they just like, oh, it's just Johnny, and are trying to actually have fun, and maybe actually are having some fun with Devin, and despite Johnny's like being ridiculous, like they're still kind of enjoying it, at least at
that's
this
fair.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like I said, the pillow fight turns, well, it turns friendly,
Yeah.
um, and but yeah, it's really obvious that Johnny's controlling the Ouija board. And at one point, Devin asks, will Mitch ever win the All
Win the All
Valley?
Valley. Yeah.
So that means that he's still like 17. I guess that kind of lines up, but he would only have one more chance, I feel. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just thought it was funny though, but the fact that Johnny's like, wait, who's Mitch? Penis breast? No, media, no, media, no, hell no. Um, we cut to Paige's gym, and we see a sign that says established 1949. Now that usually means that's when they open, right?
Usually, yeah,
EST, yeah,
yeah.
usually. And
I
so,
don't know if it's a continuity error, or well,
well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, because that article was from 1947.
47.
Yeah, and we didn't really get into the details about it, and because I wonder if I kind of omitted some of the details, knowing that we were going to be playing Mike's voicemail, because he kind of
Mhm.
talks about like some of the things in the article, who wrote the article, things of that nature. Let's take a quick moment here. Did you have any kind of notes about that article for this episode?
Um,
Because
what
when
did I?
so when I watched the episode, I had some time to prepare, right, to have content ready for the release of season six, the reaction videos, all of these things. What I also started but never finished doing was researching more of like that article. But I remember looking up the name John Luoma, I believe was the author, and there is a name that did exist in Lodi, Lodi, California. Now, Lodi, I think is, if I'm not mistaken, it's not like a city. It's more of like a town or area,
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be like Lodi, California. Lodi is just an area in California. Again,
Okay.
please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what it is because Lodi is probably not too far from the Bay Area as well.
I doubt any of the names are based on real people, though.
Yeah, it was just kind of you know, always trying to see like if there was anything connected. Now
Mm.
they do make a reference to, I forget the name, but I know it's in our comments later of where they're talking about grabbing sandwiches afterwards, which is a place that does exist.
Mm.
But and then the gym, the address to this gym, uh, I looked it up on Google Maps and it's not any sort of building, or anything. So they, I believe they did also make up the address. I thought it might be an
Yeah, I
actual
think
physical
all the
building.
addresses are made up. Because I remember looking up the Cobra Kai Dojo address once, and it was
Ah,
like, yeah, it didn't exist or it wasn't there. Yeah.
yeah, okay. I guess we'll wait until we get to more comments and after like context
Mm.
from Mike to get into that
Okay.
article. All right, so let's see, back to the sign. It says 1949. So they are there to hopefully get answers, and the three walk in. Mind you, Daniel is wearing a suit. Again, Amy mentions looking like he works for the IRS. He starts flashing the passport around, hoping anybody would recognize Mr. Miyagi, but the owner, who we will learn is Shane, makes a run for it. He
Mm.
gets chased and ultimately tackled by Chosen just right outside. Um,
I will say I think Daniel flashes the passport in the most ridiculous looking way,
yeah,
like a badge. Like, is he trying to act like he's that? Because that's not even like how you would show a
right.
passport. You would
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
turn it the other way and like,
I blame it on this new director. I mean, what's
yeah,
he the director
amateur.
directed
I'm telling you.
Ralph to flip it like a badge of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No. Even in a fictional world, you got to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I do think it's funny, and I would have to look at it again. Maybe the picture was no, you open it up like a book, right? Left to right. You don't. I'm trying to imagine if the picture would be right side up if he held it the way he did, like a badge, you know?
I thought it would be sideways. Like,
Yeah, probably
yeah.
is, but yeah, it looks funny that way though, especially the
Mhm.
reaction. Um, Now, so Chosen tackles him, but before all of this, before he starts running, there is a line of dialogue. Daniel mentions to Amanda that like Chosen basically hasn't been the same since like he never got the call back from Kumiko. So that's also a little nugget to kind of see to kind of let us know where Chosen's headspace is. Um, I think that was it. Oh, Amanda mentions that probably a good thing to have a wild card based on the welcoming committee.
Yeah.
So Daniel talks about, he's just looking for somebody, and Shane recognizes, the face as Mr. Miyagi. We cut back to the slumber party. Sam and Tori are showing each other videos on social media. This is the part where Johnny tries to catfish the two of them. There we go. By having stolen Miguel and Robbie's phones. And again, kind of taking your words, like Johnny's just being, well, no, maybe he's not being obvious here, but it's also like he thinks that he can actually trick them into falling, to thinking that this is actually Miguel and
Well,
Robbie,
the text message he sends, I think, is ridiculously obvious. It doesn't
no
sound like anything
Mamacita.
Miguel would
Yeah,
actually say. Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's like it's so funny because, of course, like he knows Miguel better than anyone, but like you would think he would know how Miguel would talks, but it's like how he imagines Miguel would talk to his
right.
girlfriend or
See,
something.
I mean, this is very much like angry tweeting Johnny, right? Like this is that version of Johnny. But I
Yeah,
feel if the text wasn't as kind of silly as it was, coming from Johnny, like oh, Mamacita, right? Like if it
yeah,
wasn't that, because I think that kind of overshadows like some of Billy's like really great comedic timing because I think I forget if it's Sam or Tori that's like, well, what's behind your back? And he's like, my hands. Like the delivery is very honest and very
yeah,
funny, and I think that you kind of missed that briefly just because of like at least for me, I'm still thinking like, see, are you crazy? Like you really think that she would believe you? I don't know. It's fun though. It is a fun exchange. And then they even do the thing where like, well, okay, well, let's see who has the phone. So they try to call back or text back. Johnny even mentions to Devin like, "Wow, like quite the social butterfly, getting all these like random calls and text messages." Catfish. Do you like catfish?
do I?
You
Yeah.
you probably don't like seafood.
Some seafood's okay. I'm not a fan of catfish.
No, you too. Huh? Okay, I like catfish. Blackened catfish, even like oh, yeah. I just like all seafood really. I don't know if there's a seafood I would turn down, or
Mm,
right not very much food I would turn down in general. Like as long if it's cooked to the way quote
correctly.
unquote it should be and seasoned and has
Yeah.
flavor, it'll be fine. I can eat almost anything. Um, but they are clearly upset, and I don't doubt them for it, obviously, and decide to leave. At this point, we cut to Korea, and Kreese is just chilling and smoking a cigar, as he does. And Kwon approaches him and questions if he's trying to get the other students to be mad at him, and as if he thinks he's afraid of them. Kreese responds that he doesn't think Kwon's afraid of anybody, but he does think he's cocky and disrespectful. But suggests if he combines that with his skills and strength, that he could be one of the most terrifying fighters in the Sekai Tekai. That basically tells him to show the class that he's the best, that there's only one way to do that. At
Yeah.
this point, it becomes a voiceover, and we see Kwon marching up to the other guys with some purpose here. And Kwon goes up to Yoon, shoves him, and is basically challenging him
Mhm.
for the best fighter here. Before I talk about like the actual fight and all that, do you have anything to add at this point? Like
Um,
thoughts of what you thought, Kwon was actually going to go do? Anything Kreese says?
well, I figured a fight was coming, but there's something great about like just the way Kreese is sitting there on the log or whatever, lights his cigar, just like, and it's like Quan comes to him and he just knows exactly what to say. he can turn the screws, right? And knows how to get into people. I mean, Johnny's right. That's what Johnny said about Kreese. And,
Yeah.
wherever he is in the world, he can do that.
He did it to Johnny. He did it to Robbie. He did it to Tori. Uh, you talked about how he was just sitting there, just kind of waiting, like it's clockwork, right? It's a thing where he's almost like three, two, one, and then enters Quan. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
almost like a sitcom. You
Right.
could add laugh tracks, and so he is just that confident in his skills as the sensei. So
Hmm.
I like it. It's kind of a power move a little bit, a bit of a mic drop when his manipulation here, when it is effective on Quan. So the fight, once Yoon and Quan start fighting, Quan blocks about three kicks, and strikes back on the third one with relative ease. And so I thought that was interesting. Like he kind of just stood there, and Yoon throws some kicks his way, and then he uses his arm or fist to like block the kicks too. So he moves pretty quick, this fighter. Yoon tries to go for another attack, but Kwon was able to do a spinning back kick. I don't know if that's what it's called, but I did note that for the Mortal Kombat gamers, we would have called that a roundhouse because for like years as a kid, I was like, oh, that is a roundhouse because this is what it looks like on Mortal Kombat. And then as I, watched other things or whatever, it'd be described as something like a spinning kick, which doesn't sound sexy. And so I was
Hmm.
just like, what? A roundhouse sounds cooler. So just to kind of give you guys a bit of a visual here. He then turns his attention to Min Sok in Chung-hee, uh, or yeah, Chung-hee, I think that is, and does not let them get away. Now, if you guys listen to my interview with Brandon, he talks about how at this point in the choreography, I forget who it was, but they were trying to figure out how do they have them kind of switch sides, for the framing and staging, blocking, whatever. And Brandon talks about how he's like, well, how about I say something like, where you guys going? And so I like how they kind of maneuver and flip what is that, 180 degrees? Yeah. So
Hmm.
really cool there. Um Commence the two-on-one fighting with Quan wreaking havoc. As the two attempt to get up, Quan runs toward them and jumps up and does like a split kick in the air. What would you call that? It's almost Brandon's like signature move, I feel too.
Certainly in part one here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know what that, if it's
Okay.
specifically, a dual hit or something,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So he kicks them both at the same time by doing splits in the air. They're very impressive. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. My note says I don't know words. Uh,
yeah.
Yoon comes back and has yet to strike Quan. Quan gets him down on his knees after striking him in the throat, rendering him vulnerable, and then rips off the patch and does like a somersault flip kick to the head or something. Um,
Finishing move. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I did kind of note that it reminded me of like Ursa from Superman Part 2. Did you see that one? Superman 2?
Oh, not a really long time.
Okay. I did make like a little side by side kind of deal, but she rips off like the tariff badge off of uniform, and then like later on she's seen wearing it. So similar thing. Um
Mhm.
let's see. He claims the badge for himself and spits on the ground as he exits. And Sensei Kim, who is watching, she looks over at Kreese, who yet again just smokes on a cigar. So cut back to the gym, and we see Chosen is taping up Shane, just like Mr. Miyagi did to Daniel during the All Valley in the first film. Shane admits he thought that they were with the IRS, and we learned from him that his grandfather and Mr. Miyagi were bros. Credits Mr. Miyagi for how the gym was even possible. Now, they talk about the fake documents and how like people usually have them because they're like hiding something. We learned that Mr. Miyagi apparently fled the U.S. as well, not just Okinawa, which Chosen tries to tell him.
Yeah.
Says that apparently after beating up some mope. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the telegram he receives about his wife and unborn child was from 1944, and the 442nd was active until 1946. And I think it was a little unclear of when he was discharged, but this incident, the beating, was not even like 3 years following the tragic news. So to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea of his headspace around all of this, right? What the um the necklace could possibly be, who it could have possibly belonged to. Again, more to come later on in the feedback.
Mhm.
Um, and also, uh, I did do the math. It puts him at about 29 years of age during the beating. And I don't know. I don't think this is going to be related or anything, but I feel like in season 5, when we saw the flashback of young Sato, I just kind of like assumed that's like 30-year-old Sato. So I do wonder if we might see Akihiro again return as Sato. That might be kind of cool, right? If we're
Yeah,
talking
that
about
would be
like
cool. Mhm.
a possible flashback of Mr. Miyagi here.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so like I definitely think we know we don't have all the facts, right? Like, in this, video or this video, this, episode is setting it up, and it's even like Shane here emphasizes, oh yeah, he beat some guy good, had to flee the country. Like, and so like it's almost like putting an end to the mystery, but like we know we only have one side of the story, and we only have very little details or something. So definitely there's like a lot more to be found. It's only ever the beginning of the mystery.
Right. Shane, when Shane was telling the story about Mr. Miyagi, and he referred to the victim as like a mope. And I don't think this is a word that he would have used, and maybe he would, but I looked it up because I was kind of curious, and it says that it is a person who lacks energy or enthusiasm. Synonyms include dahlier, dilly-dallier, and lounger. So you know, take that with a grain of salt, maybe, but also if again, whoever used this word to describe this guy, clearly, he's not like some upstanding citizen or anything, I feel.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that just adds a little bit of context to like the person that claims that this Kisugi Miyagi uh, beat him up. Now, no wait, he adds that Mr. or his pop trusted Mr. Miyagi with his life and doesn't throw around that type of praise lightly. So again, just
Yeah.
adding more context. We cut back to Sam and Tori, who are both waiting for an Uber. Sam jokes that her driver's rating probably doubles Johnny's, and Tori adds and probably triples his rating for hosting a slumber party. There's a bit of an awkward silence, but I'll just get to the point. One of the best scenes in the entire show. Finally, we have these two having a heart to heart. That's great acting from both of them. But Peyton List here, she's really nailing it here. Very emotional for the both of them, but I do
Yeah.
feel even more bad for Tori, and she's really sorry too. I mean, I think she apologized like at least 2, 3 times. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, a really good scene. I like how it really developed. They're kind of just sort of, making a couple jokes. She's talking about, stealing the phones, and and then it's just like, sometimes like that keyword she talks about steals, and then Tori's like, well, you stole my boyfriend, and and then that kind of what brings it in, and then Sam kind of flashbacks back, I was drunk and blah blah blah, and what about what you did? Yeah, and it just goes off, and both of them, and then we get a little bit of perspective, Tori explaining, how she felt when they first met, and and it was like for the first time Sam was hearing it from Tori's perspective, and and then Sam, kind of has some realizations to herself. Maybe she admits she was jealous, and then Sam kind of admitting that is what like opens the floodgates then for Tori to open up. And then, and again, it's back and forth, and it's back and forth, and that's the hallmark of a really good scene. And it just, and then Tori comes up and it apologizes. She's like, I can't believe what I did to your arm or everything. Right, and really good. And I do want to ask one question. That Tori's line too, especially about the scar in your arm. In episode 5, we'll see her mother with a similar scar. And do you think this has been something that memory has been in the back of her mind, for a while now. Like I did
Yeah.
to Sam, like, and so we're almost getting a hint of it, even though we don't know yet. That'll be in episode 5.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was gonna bring it up as well and say like, in hindsight, and then I was gonna preface it like, this isn't a spoiler if you already saw part one, of season six, right?
Oh,
Like
sorry,
you
spoiler warning, guys. No, come on.
right, right.
Everyone's seen it already. Let's go.
Yes, and it's one of the scenes that we can't get enough of, and continue to talk about. Just the acting from the two, but the dialogue, the characters finally having a talk. I just wish if some 50 some odd year old men can figure it out like these two young women did. Maybe things would be a lot nicer
Yeah,
and
yeah.
less injuries to everybody. But I wanted to bring it up because that even adds more layers to Tori, and
Mhm.
maybe if they had forward thinking in like this is related, right? Like she is so apologetic about the scarring that she gives Sam, and knowing what we will find out in episode 5, like we don't know exactly how she feels about her father, right? Like she hasn't really quite verbalized it. We see the visual cues that the show has given us, but what if she hates him that much, right? Like it's like she just hates him so much, and so it has been eating her up inside, and so
Mhm.
that just makes this apology even more earned. Like yeah, I don't want
Right.
to be like my father, and so like what I did to her, like I'm so sorry for that because I know what that meant to my mom
Yeah.
have been scarred that way too. So yeah, it's a lot, man. Oof.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's like one of the best scenes in the whole
That's
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I want to add something I very much believe is, a great scene or great writing is where like it backwards adds to previous what came before.
yeah,
And I think what happens is, we had season 2, the fight, the scars, all that. And then Tori's, while we've seen, occasionally season 3 at different times where Sam's dealing with it. Um, Tori never acknowledged it or anything. And I think like Tori was also like repressing it, right? Like so and so now we see also why Tori almost doubled down even more because she had to repress it to and not think about it, which kind of maybe backwards now explains her a little bit more in season 3 and further down the line, season 4.
yeah.
And that repressing it is also why she would explode with anger more, and then that led to, her and Amanda meeting in season 4 and all that line. So yeah, that's another thing, which I mean, obviously now I'm going ahead because obviously that comes out in episode 5, but
Right.
we see that her now letting that out in this scene.
Yeah, it's so well written, and I just love the part where Tori, kind of reminds Sam that like she didn't even have a chance. She shows
Hmm.
up. She's the new girl, and already she doesn't even make a friend yet. Or like Aisha, she's trying to make a friend of Aisha, and then all of a sudden she's being accused of like stealing the wallet, and now everybody hates her. So she was trying. She was just that new girl who got zero chances. Um,
Right, right.
so almost.
Yeah. And like I
I
said, and I think that's the first time Sam ever even thought of it from like her perspective.
right, and what if we flip it, and what if this was dialogue like, Daniel to Johnny? It's like, dude, I was a new kid in school. I was, talking to like your ex-girlfriend, and boom, all of a sudden, like everyone hates me and I'm getting my ass kicked by you guys. Like if they could just had this talk, and maybe they would just, put everything to an end at a younger age, and now it could have been like La Russo's dealership.
Oh man.
Who knows? Who knows? Um, at this point, while they're apologizing and embracing, it's very, very sweet. I love when Johnny and Devin come out, and Johnny gets excited at the arguing. He's like, "It's happening," you know. But Devin, she has a concerning look. But after all the apologies and stuff like that, both of the reactions flip, and I really like that. Hey,
Mhm.
good directing here. I don't know. See, we cut back to Miyagi's room. Daniel doesn't know what's worse, finding out he hurt Mr. Miyagi hurt someone, or not knowing the full story. Daniel is sad and possibly feels betrayed, not knowing everything about the man who thought he thought was perfect. Chosen Amanda tried to make him feel better, and Amanda reminds him that even they keep secrets and references something that happened in Cancun. So I guess like Amanda's Cancun story is like Johnny's Applebee's story, but Chosen does ask like what happened in Cancun, and I don't know if you had any thoughts to the way she responds to him, but using his name as Taguchi. You know
I
how
I
well,
think it's I think it's more about what happened in Cancun.
okay.
That's between Daniel, Amanda, and those two other couples. So
I guess I
Taguchi's not
guess
gonna learn.
right, right. I like to believe that explanation because I guess the alternative would be like calling him by his surname here is like not respecting him. When it's like he's
Yeah.
should be close like family that she could call him chosen, but yeah, the fact that she wants to keep it private between them, like no, Taguchi, you're not gonna. Okay, I can see that. Amanda tells Daniel the best thing that they can do is make the most of the time to make most of the time with most of the time we have with the people we love while they're here. We cut to Chosen briefly, who hears this and presumably thinks about Kumiko. Daniel and Amanda leave, wish Chosen a good night. He sits down and repeats what Amanda said, make most of time. He then pulls out his phone and searches for flights to Okinawa. Now, very big question here that I think everyone's wondering. Do you think they got the fiber optic internet installed? Like, his
Um,
reception's got better.
I don't think so because they took the detour.
Okay.
I think he's just using his data here.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully Daniel's paying for that. No.
Oh man. Yeah.
Uh, we got the Teresa dressing.
But
Yeah,
hold on.
yeah, yeah.
Just on the scene, I
Yeah,
do think like Daniel's overreacting a little bit.
of
He
course.
should know like he doesn't have the whole story, and like you almost feel like a little disappointed in Daniel. Like he's like I get like you don't know it's something new to you, but like I don't know. Isn't it like a little too much for Daniel?
It's not too dissimilar from like the dynamic with like him and Johnny, right? Over the decades, it's the thing where like, why don't you guys just sit down and talk so you're not jumping to conclusions. Give the other person a chance to explain their side of the story
Mhm.
and you'll understand. So Daniel here is jumping to conclusions. He can't find out the answers from Miyagi, but like wait until you find out the answers before you start passing judgment, you know? Yeah, or even denying the possibility of like said stories, stuff like that.
Oh, and another note on the Sam and Tori scene. I guess I wrote this not in my notes, but in the other part where I just writing the scene. But Sam called Tori Little Miss Perfect LaRusso.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll take credit for that one. Because I once upon a time had deduced something Little Miss Perfect, which I thought was Sam. It wasn't, but the name stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe.
Maybe.
Um, I know, I was a little surprised, maybe a little surprised, but this is related to what we're talking about, but not to Cobra Kai. So I interviewed a director for Twisted Metal. She was kind of talking about how like, thank you guys for doing this, for like to talk about the show and the reviewing the episodes and interviewing just to kind of get the behind the scenes stories. And she was
Mm,
talking about how she likes to see what people are saying about there because they want to know what are people thinking about the show. Are they enjoying it?
right. Hmm.
What's working, what's not working. So, yeah, I'm sure sometimes people are reading reviews of their episodes and things like that, or relating to what they're going to be writing about. Who knows? Sometimes we influence things. I mean, there's things that we talk about on the pods over the years, or your channels that will end up on the show, and who knows what came first, the egg or the chicken. Like I like to take credit for Johnny having an Instagram, where I was kind of pushing it, with some of the writers, and boom, there we go. Season 4, we get it. He gets one. All right, we cut to Chris addressing Sensei Kim's dojang. He says there's only one way to defeat an opponent who fights with heart, by being heartless. And like when he says this, I just wanted to insert like the Kanye West song, Heartless. Uh,
Ah,
do you know that one?
I do know that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. There you go. He continues, skill will only go so far to pierce the heart of your enemy. You need to harness all that hate inside you. And then he walks over to Quan and asks if he's ready, to which Quan responds, yes, sensei, and continues to address the class that their opponents will throw everything they have at him. And Quan replies with confidence that they will give them no mercy. I tells them good and to warm up the class. And then instead of how Johnny warms up the class, Quan instructs to start with the Viper attack, begin. So very in
Mhm,
line with Kreese's teachings. We've seen this all
mhm,
before. Kreese walks over to Sensei Kim, tells her there are no more distractions, to which she is impressed and says, now with Quan in line, no dojo stands a chance against them. Kreese says, but there's still one more piece of the puzzle left, and we
mhm,
cut to Tori, who is about to spar with Sam. I
mhm.
feel you mentioned this, but like, what about somebody else in the dojang? There's plenty of other students. Like the story has to work, right? So like, we're gonna go with Tori, but do you think that's unreasonable to not like test out any other student like other than Tori?
I, I guess we would have to assume off screen, he saw them, the others, especially the girls, and none of them had the fire
Right,
he's looking for, that caged beast that he
right.
wants to unleash. That was what he had with Quan, and none of them quite have it, so.
Yeah, and he already spent some time with Tori, and have the
Mhm.
rapport there as well, and so in his mind, she is still his champion, right? That's a
Yeah.
lot that he'll say in episode 5.
Hmm.
So Quan instructs to start with the Viper attack. Begin. I already read that part. They're definitely not holding back, and no, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the sparring with Sam. Tori sparring with Sam. They're definitely not holding back and appears to be much more focused than at the start of the episode. But Devin gives Johnny some kudos for remedying the situation. We cut to Daniel inside the dojo, who is having a talk with a picture of Mr. Miyagi, just kind of vocalizing his internal thoughts. Nothing a surprise, right? We already been hearing this whole episode. Um, we go outside where,
But before we
yeah,
go on, like it, is that it? Like Tori and Sam had that moment, and now they're ready to beat the crap out of each other. Now they feel comfortable doing that.
what's the question? I'm sorry. Like,
Like Tori and Sam, they had their moment. Like we
right.
we saw that, and now they're ready to full on train and back to essentially beating the crap out of each other. This time for
Yes.
the purposes of training.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, so like for me, it's like okay, they aired out all their grievances, right? I think there's like an agreement, right? Like, hey, clean slate. We said everything we needed to say. We apologized. We hugged, so we're good now. So I feel they feel they're on the same page. So if there's an accidental kick or whatever, like okay, they're just gonna um,
It won't be
kind of
misinterpreted.
yeah,
Like yeah,
exactly. It's like,
yeah.
okay, we've gone past that now. So
Okay.
at the beginning of the episode, they're holding back because I think that's what they were fearing. Like, well, what if there was an accidental elbow to the face and then it may just kind of
Okay.
restart this rift all over again. I think that's why they were holding back and
That
now
that
much more
makes sense.
focused.
That
Uh,
makes sense. It's worth noting also, Devin says, "Remind me never to doubt you again, Sensei." She credits Johnny for it, and
yeah,
Johnny says, "Girls are easy." So
like he always says,
Is Johnny the miracle worker here? Is Johnny the one who did it?
just being a
Um,
girl dad.
because he
He's
being a girl dad, he knows how to manipulate girls,
yeah,
or are we going with
you're on
Amy,
your own on this
who
one.
said the girls did it themselves?
We'll go with Amy.
Oh, you're going with that. I don't know. Because Devin thinks Johnny did it, so Johnny thinks Johnny did it.
Oh, that's two thoughts make a right.
Sure.
Yeah, if two people agree that it must be true.
Mhm.
Uh,
But it's
uh,
funny. Like, do you think this would have happened with or without Johnny? Did he cause it? Like he caused them to want to leave an annoyance, I guess.
he he
He
may
put them
have
in a
um
bad mood. I don't know.
he may just kind of accelerated it. Like it may have eventually happened, but the fact that he kind of put them, like at Devin's house, and then that's kind of where it all started. It put them there away from anybody else, their boyfriends, for example, who
Mhm.
Devin was kind of blaming like this is your guys' fault. Look what happened, which I don't think was true. I don't think they had any idea
I guess if we want to
either,
credit Johnny too, by taking the phones from Miguel and Robbie, they couldn't be texting them through the
right?
night,
Yeah, they
you
couldn't
know?
have interfered, with his
Yeah,
his master
with his
plan.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah. But like let's give Johnny a point here. Point Lawrence, right?
Boy, Lawrence.
For at least putting these two together to eventually air out the grievances. They took it upon themselves. I mean, Johnny got the ball rolling. I
Yeah,
don't know if he deserves full credit, but I feel like he helped accelerate it.
he got it going. There, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. We cut to Daniel. All right. So now we're back outside where Hawk is holding a tablet with the commissioner. We know him as Gunther from season five. Um, I'm assuming he's a commissioner. Was he ever given a title in season five during episode eight or
I mean,
anything?
I think it was implied he was
Okay.
like the chairman of the board or whatever it is,
Right.
in
Right.
the Ron position,
Right. Exactly. But
for the
on a
Sekai Taikai. And I'm
yeah,
still
yeah,
waiting for a showdown between him and Ron,
yeah.
but that's another
Well,
thing.
I'm sure Ron's taking care of all types of dental, appointments right now, hockey players and such. So Gunther reveals some changes and rules for the upcoming tournament. He reveals that it will be hosted by Barcelona this time around. Drops the bomb and reveals that there needs to be six competitors fighting for each dojo. I don't know what it was before, but now this
Which
was
is my
kind of
question. Like, what was it
yeah.
before? Is it like such a major change? I don't know.
Limiting to six. Maybe it was the thing where they're like bringing the entire dojo and like who's funding the flights, right? Is it the dojo has to fund their own flight? A lot of logistical questions that we're not going to go over, but also, we learned a few things in episode one as well with the Sekai. I do find it. Like it's part of the story. Like this is just the way it's going to happen. But you feel like once they were, what was the word when they find out that they were qualified for the Sekateka, you feel there would have been some sort of like packet sent to them with rules and such, but we're finding it out this way. But I do feel, yeah, kind of question like there probably should have been more things that they could have known about the tournament and not, be told things like during training,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the format, and we'll get a little bit more from Mike Barnes next episode.
All
But
right. He returns.
yeah, yeah. But like, what's the format? How many students? And one of the things I like, I mean, they're like, because in my mind, like if the dojo qualified, the whole dojo could or would still go, even if they're not all fighting, right? Like you go and you support your team, right? Um,
Yeah.
like that was the other thing. Like I'm like, so only the six of them are going, and then we brought this up even in the recap or somewhere. I think you mentioned it from Cobra Kai's that they like are there replacements or something,
Right. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a whole nother issue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of logistical stuff, which probably won't be addressed in like part two or anything like that. But I mean, it's a big, global thing. So, yeah, I feel there a little bit be a little bit more like, these are kind of like the default rules, and then maybe there's amendments and stuff. Kind of like every 2 years. Let's see here. Everyone is definitely bummed out because they thought that everyone was going to be able to go. Now they're going to have to decide how to um, kind of get, dwindle it down to just the six best students of the combined dojo. Everyone's looking at one another as we cut to an end snake. And that's it for this episode. That concludes our review. Watch party, final thoughts, anything you want to add, anything we missed? Um, yeah, just anything else you could think of with Ralph Macchio's directorial debut on Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I was just thinking the six fighters. I think that's like it's not new, so they all thought they were going to go. I think it'll be interesting to see if they even go into it, how this Sekai Taikai varies from previous ones. Maybe it was always like there was no competition with more than six fighters. So maybe only dojos brought more students, but they only used six. Tended to be the rotation. So um
Yeah,
that's something, yeah.
if we get a flashback of like young Miyagi and assuming that he participated in the Sekai Tekai, maybe at that point because it was still relatively new. I don't know if we learned. Maybe I missed
Hmm.
it, or maybe I just forgot like the whole Devin losing her mom to cancer. Um, maybe I might have missed it, but I don't know when the Sekai Tekai was established. But maybe early on, they were still kind of figuring out the rules, and at that point they didn't have like a limitation or whatever. And then
Hmm.
over the years, as dojos continue to grow, or students in the martial arts, start their own dojos, and it came to a point where they're like, you know what, this is just too many. Now we need to kind of limit it by countries, or if it's multiple
Something, yeah.
dojos per country, then we need to limit like fighters or
Hmm.
competitors. I'm not sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could also see, not really going into detail, kind of like feel like the last All Valley in season 4. I think my conversation with Michael Jonathan Smith, we were kind of talking about the points, and I remember him sharing some sort of story where he questions like, the point system, or maybe the point system came up and they were gonna kind of
Well,
like gloss it
yeah,
over, but they're like,
they talked about a lot about how how much were they going to explain in the episode? Like
right.
they'll figure it out, but like, is it going to be like explained, or is it just kind of they'll just show you the leaderboard without really getting into the details on the points and such?
So I could see something like that in terms of the rules too. Like that's just gonna be what it is, and we don't, you know, really know the details of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
You know,
was
I had
yeah.
another thought,
Hmm.
just in regards to Johnny and such, because we've been debating all day. This whole episode here, are girls easy or something? And I thought, well, maybe everyone's right. No, no, girls aren't easy. But Johnny is such a super stud. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
it's easy for him. So
Yeah.
that's why Devin's like, you did it, Sensei. You did it.
You
And he's
did
like, yeah,
that,
girls are
right?
easy. So he just assumes, but no one else can do what Johnny does. So
No,
maybe
not at
that's what
all.
it is. Yeah,
And
that's
no one has the confidence of Johnny to have like these Papa's photos and like Teen Beat and stuff like that.
that's true.
You
That's
know,
true. That's
that's
true.
that's the other
I
thing. I think
I wouldn't do that. Like I'll just tell you, like I wouldn't. It wouldn't occur to me.
right.
So
Not
that's
enough
I'm just not at
pages,
his level. Yeah,
just
I'm not.
but
Um,
anybody else they're probably covered. No,
yeah.
not Johnny Lawrence. Not Johnny Lawrence. He shows up uh to the shoot and it's just like where do I put my shirt? That's the first thing he said.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
really, yeah, go ahead. Actually, if you have
Oh,
any more
well,
thoughts. Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, overall episode, I actually did think Ralph did an amazing job. I think he had, a great visual ideas. I think, he helped execute the whole story. All three storylines were really good. Matea Green, who wrote this, I think it's her best episode. This is, I think, the last episode she wrote. Now she was still in the writer room. She was involved with everything, but this is her last episode of Cobra Kai, and she really knocked it out.
Yeah, for the two, for her and Ralph, to kind of juggle like the three storylines and do it really well. The episode clocks in just slightly over 30 minutes, and you don't feel any of that. You're just like, wow, that's it. Like everything that
Yeah.
they gave us, the little Goonies map chasing with Daniel and Amanda and Chosen, and then you got Johnny and the slumber party, and also introducing brand new students, or not just students, but new characters,
Yeah. New
and making
dojo.
their,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, new dojo.
essentially,
Yep. hmm and just again, I'm kind of overusing this term, but like the compelling storyline between well, just everything going on with like Team Korea, like the whole Yoon and Kwan dynamic. I'm really here for it. and they do the thing where they just give you just enough that not to oversaturate this episode with like new characters because you might as well give us like uh, another episode, I guess.
Hmm.
But we don't see them again until end of episode 5. So really great use of the time, the
Hmm.
runtime to present all of the stories. Um, really, especially after talking about it some more in this review, I really appreciate the moment shared with Sam and Tori and apology, and it felt very honest and earned.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
If I feel if you felt one way about one of those characters after them making up and hearing them out and hearing their point of view, hopefully you come to understand them a little bit more. And I forgot what it was Peyton shared on Instagram and whatever it was. I just remember commenting like season 6 is Tori season, with a
Hmm.
capital SZN. I think yeah, her storyline, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for it, but also just like what we know happens in episode 5 is a little bit closer to home for me. And so now like a little bit more attention is on Tori for me as a viewer. So, let's see. Yeah, Quan, you already kind of touched on them. Can't wait to see what else is gonna come of this mysterious box of Mr. Miyagi's. Uh, like ever since you kind of mentioned like, oh, does it look like I forgot how you phrased it, but you're like, does it look like there's a prequel in there or
Yeah, yeah. In
well,
that
did you?
box, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, what does that look like on a poster? You know, it's just
Hmm.
like a box that just put the words prequel in there.
Hmm.
But yeah, really excited to see where that takes us. Do you think it's probably going to bleed into part 3, huh? The box, the contents of the
Oh, yeah,
box.
yeah. I mean, and we knew this because, Ralph said in interviews, it's
Oh, you're
going the
right.
whole season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Let's see. I guess we can leave it at that. I had kind of been teasing it all episode that we have a clip from Mike, aka Cobra Kai Wisdom. He gives a lot of context and history um, to like the things that are in the box and leads into his theory. And so we'll go ahead and play that clip for you. And when we return, we'll give our thoughts on that and maybe talk about some of our theories ourselves or just, comments. And then
mhm.
we'll get into listener feedback. So this is Mike.
What up, peeps? This is Mike, aka Cobra Kai Wisdom, and I have been asked to share my Miyagi box theory. So here we go. Ever since part one came out, I've been trying to piece together the Miyagi box theory from what we know about Mr. Miyagi from the movies and what we also know from real life American and Japanese and Okinawan history. Now, Mr. Miyagi is a beloved character. The Big Three and Ralph Macchio would never do anything to harm his character or his legacy. And I really believe that. But what they can do is add to it. Now, this is a man who was over 60 years old when we met him. He had a whole lifetime before he ever met Daniel LaRusso and we ever met him. Now, what Cobra Kai has always been about is shades of gray. It starts way back in season one with Johnny, with Daniel. Nobody is always good, nobody is always bad. There's always shades of gray, and it's no different from any other character. We can do the same with Mr. Miyagi, or the show can. And I believe that at the end of it all, this theory, this story of Mr. Miyagi will end up showing Mr. Miyagi's humanity on a deeper level. And in fact, may have us end up loving him even more and have Daniel end up loving him and respecting him and relating to him even more, which will make him a better person and a better sensei. So let's have a little bit of background first. Now, it was believed that we never learned Mr. Miyagi's first name in the Karate Kid trilogy. That was what we believed. Then the next Karate Kid comes out, and at the very beginning, Mr. Miyagi and the 442nd are somehow being honored again by the President of the United States, and Mr. Miyagi is there to accept an award. That's why he was in Boston. And when they are giving out this award, the announcer calls him Keisuke Miyagi. So that was believed to be Mr. Miyagi's first name. We now know his first name. It's Keisuke. Fast forward years later, we have Cobra Kai season 1. We have Mr. Miyagi's gravestone, and the gravestone says Nariyoshi Miyagi, born in 1924. So there's two names. The big three explained that, in fact, we did learn Mr. Miyagi's first name in the Karate Kid trilogy. They explained that Chosen's sign at the airport when Mr. Miyagi and Daniel first arrive, it's written in Japanese, but what it says, if you translate it, is Nariyoshi Miyagi. So in the Karate Kid 2, it is revealed that Mr. Miyagi's first name was actually Nariyoshi, and that was the name that they decided to use, the one that was actually used first in the trilogy. That's his real name. Fast forward to season 3, the letter to Yukie is signed Nariyoshi Miyagi. Now, the big three says that all movies that are part of the Miyagi-verse that Mr. Miyagi is in are canon. And if that's the case, then both names are canon. Now, how could that be? Here's what we know. If that's the case, then Mr. Miyagi was known as Nariyoshi in his early years. That's how Yukie knows him. And he was also known as Nariyoshi in his later years. That's how Daniel knows him. But he's known in the military as Keisuke Miyagi. Why? Here's where we start getting into season 6 and what we've learned from the box and all of its contents. So in part 1, Daniel finds a passport that says Keisuke Miyagi, born on July 28th, 1918, 6 years older than Nariyoshi's birth. Why the date change? The date he was admitted was September 16th, 1942, right in the middle of World War II. And the passport is signed by an immigrant inspector named John Luoma. Now, this is an important name. Keep it in the back of your mind, John Luoma. So we know that Mr. Miyagi emigrated when he was 18 years old. That's when he and Sato had the falling out over Yukie, which would mean, if we're going by Nariyoshi's date of birth, that he emigrated to the United States in 1942. So what we all figured was that Mr. Miyagi came to the US, joined the military, and fought in the 442nd. Well, if you're looking at real history, that is not possible. That was not possible. During World War II, only United States citizens were allowed to join the United States military. Going back even further, in the 1870s, it was decided by the United States government in its infinite wisdom that we didn't like Asian people, and we wanted to make it harder for Asians to become citizens. In 1922, the US Supreme Court ruled that Issei, or Japanese-born people, were no longer eligible to become US citizens. Then 2 years later, in 1924, the US passed the Immigration Act of 1924, which stopped all immigration from Asia, including Japan and Okinawa. So what that meant was that in 1942, Nariyoshi Miyagi was not eligible to immigrate to the US, become a citizen, or join the military. What that means is he needed a new identity. And then Keisuke Miyagi was born. Keisuke Miyagi, born in 1918. In 1918, this explains the 6-year difference. In 18, it was hard for Japanese to become a citizen, but it wasn't impossible like it was years later. Nisei, or second-generation Japanese who were born in the United States, were still allowed to become citizens at this point. Now, here's where things get a little screwy with the timeline. As I said, the passport still says that he was born in Japan, still says he was admitted in 1942. So my thought on that is maybe it's a renewed passport, that Keisuke was born in 1918, and he still emigrated before 1922, when it was permitted for Japanese to emigrate to the US. But in any event, it's clearly a fake passport, which he needed to stay here in the US and join the military. So Keisuke Miyagi joins the 442nd and is awarded the Medal of Honor. Meanwhile, at some point between 1942 and 1944, Mr. Miyagi is in Hawaii, and meets the future Mrs. Miyagi. The two of them get married. At some point, she gets pregnant with their firstborn child. On November 2nd, 1944, Mrs. Miyagi and the baby die while Mr. Miyagi is still away in Europe at war. We know she dies in an internment camp from complications at birth and no doctor come, as Mr. Miyagi said, that somehow, some way, she was stuck in an internment camp and no doctor came to help her. What we've also learned from the article, from the news article from season 6, The Box, is that on May 3rd, 1947, someone named Jim Watkins was hospitalized from a severe beating and a valuable necklace was stolen. So here's my theory. And I don't think we're going to be told about it in part 2 or part 3. I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see young Miyagi in all his glory, and there's going to be scenes and a storyline that's going to be shown for us, and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So here's my theory. The initial thought, which I understand when this whole Miyagi box theory came out and the story of him assaulting and robbing someone, is that Mr. Miyagi would never. He's peaceful. He was always in control. He would never do something like this. But was he? Was he always in control? Think about one time where we saw Mr. Miyagi completely out of control. The Mr. Miyagi drunk scene, the famous scene in the original Karate Kid. This is 40 years later. It's his anniversary. He's drunk to the point that he basically passes out, and he's still feeling regret. He's talking about land of free, home of brave, no doctor come. While he was out serving his country, that he had to change his identity just to get in, his wife was left to die. So here's the theory. Mr. Miyagi did not steal a necklace. He took it back. It was his wife's necklace. This Jim Watkins character was somehow involved in the death of Mrs. Miyagi. Was he a prison guard? Was he the person who was responsible for not calling the doctor? Whatever he is, he's a bad guy. He lets her die, and then he takes Mrs. Miyagi's necklace after she dies. 2 years later, Mr. Miyagi tracks down Jim Watkins and asks for the necklace back. At this point, I believe Watkins says something horrible, something truly, truly horrible, like, glad she's dead, glad your baby died, one less Asian that we have to deal with. Something like that just makes his blood boil and everyone's blood boil. And Mr. Miyagi, for the first time in his life, absolutely loses it. Beats the living shit out of Watkins and takes his wife's necklace back. Now, while we are probably cheering at this moment that Mr. Miyagi clocks this SOB, Mr. Miyagi himself probably feels shame over what he's done. This is not his character. This is not the Miyagi-Do way. Fighting always last answer to problem. But meanwhile, Watkins wakes up in a hospital and, like the whiny asshole that he probably is, cries about the fact that he's been assaulted and robbed. Now, Mr. Miyagi knows that in 1947, an Asian, even an Asian American, is never going to be believed over a white guy, to put it bluntly. So what that means is that Keisuke Miyagi needs to disappear. But it's okay, because Keisuke Miyagi was a fake identity anyway. So what is good is that Mr. Miyagi has friends who can help him. So an article is written about this incident, the news article that Daniel and Amanda had chosen find. This news article, the author of which is a gentleman named John Luoma. Yes, the same individual who signed Mr. Miyagi's fake passport in 1942 is the same person who wrote this news article. He was the immigration inspector, and now he's a reporter for this newspaper. That tells me that he's a friend. He's doing something, and he's writing this article for the purpose of somehow helping Mr. Miyagi. My guess is by diverting everyone's attention to a fake identity named Keisuke Miyagi. So the fake identity disappears. And this is some Shawshank shit going on right here. Keisuke Miyagi, the fake identity, disappears. But Mr. Miyagi knows that people would still recognize his face, so he needs to escape the country, at least for some time as well. What we know is that the owner of the gym, Pop Pop, somehow helps Mr. Miyagi escape the country. And I presume because Chosen found some Chinese money in the box, that Mr. Miyagi probably escapes to China. He wouldn't go back to Okinawa because he wasn't welcome there. So he probably goes to China, somehow gets involved in the Sekai Taikai, which was probably happening in China that year. He's off balance and he needs to regain it. And there's probably a whole storyline, I'm guessing, involving Master Kim, maybe even involving Sato, involving the Sekai Taikai tournament at that time, where Mr. Miyagi somehow regains his balance and forges the path to becoming the person that we meet in the Karate Kid. He returns to the US at some point, either name is redeemed, or he just goes back to being Nariyoshi Miyagi again, which is why that's the name that Daniel knows as well. And in 1952, Japanese are once again allowed to become United States citizens, so Nariyoshi Miyagi can continue living in the US until 1984 and beyond, when we meet him in the Karate Kid trilogy. So that's the theory. We shall see what happens starting November 15th.
All right, and I want to thank Mike for sending in that voice memo, kind of explaining or giving his thoughts on the things, the contents of the box, and his theory. Watch party. What's the
You know,
first thing you want to comment on his?
very detailed, very detailed. I
Yes,
really liked it. He did his work. Because I've been meaning to make another video on this, and he basically covered all the stuff I had been meaning to. So, really good job on that. I like the details that the news article is written by the guy who made the passport. But anyway, I definitely think. I mean, I think he's definitely on the right track.
yeah,
We're trying to clean up a lot of the plot, the inconsistencies that have arisen, just through miscommunication or whatever. I don't think it was all intentional. Like Miyagi's birth date, I think was a little bit, they weren't thinking, that I think they said when they put the day he was born up for the gravestone, that like, oh wait, he's got to get the Hawaii and such, by this age before World War II. And so now it's like all like really condensed, and so they're kind of covering it all. We'll see what they do. I mean, but I think Mike and that theory basically is on the right track. um some of it, something the stuff he's done part two, I think maybe some of it's going to be part three. Like the revel yeah, the parts about um the necklace and stuff. I
yeah.
think that's going to get answered in part three, because part two is going to be like the Sekai Taikai part of it. So like we're going
All
through the
right.
box out of order too, because
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's going to be, while Daniel's at the Sekai Taikai, he start asking about previous versions. He's there, he could talk to Gutner or whoever. And I think we're just going to get it a little bit out of order. So part two is going to cover the Sky type Takai part of it. And then maybe part three we go back and figure out about the necklace and all that.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yeah, because like the TV3, the creators of Cobra Kai, they've always kind of said that, they keep a pretty good pulse on the fandom, and a lot of people can make very close speculations or theories to what may come in the next batch or seasons in the past. But they've always said it's B, right? They people can guess A to C, but it's always the B that people are kind of close, but maybe not quite get it. It'd be kind of fun if like Mike kind of nails it on this
Hmm.
I guess remaining 10 episodes here, or
Yeah.
maybe just a little bit here and there, and everything else is completely wrong. But I think it's really good. The one connection I didn't make was the author of that article was also the agent who signs the passport. So that one I did not catch. Now the necklace, are you also on like saying like that's Mrs. Mrs. Miyagi's necklace, or do you think,
He's taking it back. I think that's
yeah,
probably um the best theory. I think at the moment.
yeah,
Um, I mean, like other than it's just like a random crime because like he went to the guy's house too, right? So
yeah,
it's not like he was breaking in trying to steal. So he went to the guy's house and took one thing, right? So that makes sense. Like it's not like he's a thief and stealing all sorts of things. So if he like goes to someone's house and takes one thing, I think that's probably about the best reason.
yeah. If it was a necklace that belonged to my dead wife, the mother of my unborn child, like I, I will kick somebody's
Mhm.
ass. Like I will take that back. Like take me to jail. I have experienced worse. That kind of like I can only imagine how Mr. Miyagi's feeling. And so yeah, nobody's perfect, and I think anything that they reveal to us is going to make sense, and I don't think anybody's going to fault him for it. Just like, hey, you
Mhm.
did what you had to do, and I would imagine that we would be understanding of like I think it'd be kind of low stakes if the guy is just like a complete utter trash. Like I feel maybe this guy's like a war hero of sorts, but also is a dirtbag. Like this is going to be somebody that isn't just like a or two-dimensional. I feel so
Yeah.
that'd be that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. All right, and so yeah, Mike, thanks again for doing that. I know that must have taken a while. Probably had to write that down and then record it, but it's a really great theory that I felt was definitely worth sharing.
Good.
Okay, and again, as always, I solicited feedback in our Facebook group. The first one comes from Ron. He says, "This is not a spoiler because I have no inside information here, but I do have a theory. I think the guy who Miyagi beat up and robbed back in the days was someone who had wronged him in the past. I suspect it was a guard at Manzanar detention camp who couldn't
Mhm.
call a doctor while Mrs. Miyagi died giving birth. Also, I think the Chinese coin will connect Mr. Miyagi to the Jackie Chan version of the Karate Kid and set up the next movie with Daniel. Again, that's just my guess, but I did correctly predict that whatever was in the box would begin to address the discrepancy between Miyagi's two different first names, Noriyoshi and Keisuke. Whatever the story is, we'll all find out together. Um, yeah, I think those are very strong theories, and and nothing really sticks out. Like also the coin, I also thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's how they're going to connect it.
I
There's
don't think so.
you know,
I think it's more of actually
Shippo.
what Mike said. It's more of Miyagi fled to China
Oh, right, right, right.
and then he was in the China's Sekai Takai team. So I
Yeah.
think that's like why he has connections to China.
You,
I
th- you,
still don't think the big three are connecting the series to Jackie Chan.
sure, sure. Do you think that when Miyagi fled to China, do you think there's any connection to somebody in the past who knew Shimpo Sensei? Or do you think he went to China and it's just a complete
Well,
stranger?
Shimpo
And
Sensei was so long ago, but
yeah,
there could be students or
mm,
a line of training
yeah.
that basically descended and which I
It,
mean
it it would
we
be
have kung fu like right the karate. I mean it
yeah,
somewhat originated from kung fu in China, right? So
yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be like that scene in episode 503 where Daniel and Chosen are doing a stakeout. Oh no, no, maybe it was 502. 502 and they see Silver's dojo and Chosen like recognizes the style. Like Miyagi could easily be walking around China and maybe he recognizes the style in some dojo, you know, something familiar to his own or something. I
hmm
don't
hmm
know. Let me see here. I know Randy kind of comments on that, so like if it's directly to Ron, I don't want to read that. So I'll go to Randy next, who says, "I'm betting that I'll be voicing some unpopular opinions, so I might as well get the worst out of the way. Season six so far is the weakest of the Cobra Kai seasons, and central to that weakness is the Miyagi mystery box. While it had a lot of potential, it ultimately became a pretty lame plot device that also served as both directly and indirectly instigating some of the weakest plot points of part one. First, I especially wasn't a fan of Amanda childishly goading Daniel into investigating Miyagi's past. At the very least, I felt like she was owning up to it when at the boxing gym she said, "Yeah, this one's my fault." Then this exposed cracks in Daniel's over idol, idolatry, over idolatry, idolatry,
Idolatry?
idolatry,
Uh,
idolatry. Um,
What's the full sentence? Go ahead.
The full sentence, Daniel's over idolatry of Miyagi and proving to be his biggest weakness.
Yeah, yeah. Daniel sees Miyagi as an idol, like it says.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then becomes an excuse for every time Daniel acts like an insufferable baby in future episodes. Finally, this quote unquote investigation uses one of the biggest tropes that tends to bug me in lazy writing. Just how far and how fast did Daniel, Amanda, and Chosen drive to get from Reseda and Encino to Lodi and back? On a good day, that's probably about 6 hours one way, and they already started in the afternoon, judging by Daniel's line featured in the trailer. Of course, they then spent probably an hour or two chasing down sketchy people, gathering info on Miyagi, only to have to endure that long drive back. And let's not forget the French dip sandwiches that Amanda promised. I can only hope that there's some redemption for Miyagi's past in parts two and three.
Wait, where was
Now,
the
yeah,
gym? It was 6 hours away. Did I miss something about that?
I think because I believe Randy is from California. I know there was like some comments about like where things are located, and I think he knows that where they are located, Reseda and Encino, to get to Lodi and back, that's probably about 6 hours one way.
Oh,
So that
I
should,
never paid attention. I know that the
yeah,
gym is the address on the passport,
right,
right?
right,
I never actually even paid attention. I didn't actually
to
look
the
at because
location.
yeah, the actual
Yeah.
location. I know they always do fake addresses, like
Right, right.
um
And we talked about that too. Like the
yeah,
address is
yeah.
fake, but yeah, different part of Cali is what he's saying.
Oh,
And
maybe it's up in North California because um
I'd
maybe
have
he
to look at the
wasn't in
map.
LA at the time. Yeah, I don't know.
But it's the same thing where like, in episode what five
Wait,
oh
wait, wait,
no,
wait. Okay, hold
109.
on. I just pulled it up.
Okay.
The address on the passport, 691 Hill Street, Los Angeles,
Okay.
California. Okay. But that's not 6 hours away. So what is he talking about? That I mean, that's the valley that would just be in there north, so they just go south. But I mean, traffic's bad, but it's not that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Now I wonder if maybe he mistook Lodi for the location of the gym when that's actually isn't that where the guy got beat up? Was in Lodi? Not at the gym,
Oh, it
right?
might have been
Yeah.
you know why? Because the camps were probably more in that direction. Like
Hmm.
the camps. Boy, I don't know where they were, but
Yeah, yeah.
certainly they weren't like right by Los Angeles.
Right.
They were more inland or north. So yeah, that actually makes sense because that would be because then that guy lived somewhere. If the guy worked at the camp, he lived near there, right? Like, which is then no 6 hours away from Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay. But that's not related to the gym, right? I think that's more
No, no,
with the
no, it's not. Yeah,
necklace.
it's not
Yeah.
related to the
That's
gym.
more with the
At all.
necklace.
Yeah,
The gym
that's
would be LA.
yeah.
Yeah. But if there is a discrepancy in terms of the travel, I was just going to reference episode 109. Johnny is at his apartment at nighttime and then is in Daniel's, or maybe is that 108 to 109?
Yeah, yeah, right. When it took it all night to find um
Daniel's yeah, and ends up in the backyard in the morning. So
Jim Watkins
yeah.
of Lodi. No, no, but I think we just Lodi. Okay, I think we just stumbled on something else
Okay.
accidentally, but I'm certain that's where it is. So that means Miyagi traveled 6 hours to beat this guy up.
Oh, if he was at the gym, well, the gym wasn't established till 49, unless he was already living there before it became a gym, right? And then that's how like without
I
Miyagi,
suspect no, I suspect like he was like living at the gym, upstairs or something.
but before the gym was established, right? If it was established in 49 and the article's from 47, so it was like maybe it was a gym before, but Miyagi helps the guy like keep it running
Convert
or
it.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
could be.
convert it into a gym. Yeah, there's a lot of
Okay.
details, or we might not get any of that.
Yeah, okay. Lodi, east of San Francisco, just south of Sacramento. So yeah,
Hmm,
that's way up in Northern California. Um, so that means keep in mind, so now we've now discovered inadvertently, but when Miyagi went to beat that guy up for the necklace, he drove 6 hours to get there. Um,
interesting.
yeah.
Oof, and to have him fuming like the entire time.
What is this?
Yeah, that guy just got lucky, whatever stopped Miyagi from like killing him, you know.
Wait, I wonder if that's I'm just like on Google and then I see Chinese camp um
Hmm.
off there. So I bet that's somewhere where the camps were located too.
Now, are you looking at a
Um,
current map or are you looking at
oh
like a
yeah, I'm on
19?
Google Maps. I'm just on Google
Okay,
Maps.
current. Or is
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Could you change the year? No, you probably can't change the year because they didn't have the
Yeah,
Google
they didn't have
back
Street
then.
View
So,
back in the
oh man,
1940s.
that would have been interesting, huh?
But
That would
I'm
be
certain you can look up old maps. But the city's in the same spot. So
right.
um
I'll have you continue looking at that in case you find more here. He's got some more
mm,
tidbits to add. Now onto some other points of the episode. I know this is nitpick, but Levin's house has a basement. Basements are a rarity in Southern California due to the impracticality of digging that deep to build a house foundation in ground that is highly unlikely to frost over. Devin's dad must be loaded for them to have a house with a fully finished basement, but I guess this matches up a bit, as the little of what we see of exterior shots did give vibes of Allie's neighborhood. Also, as a big horror fan, I was a bit miffed that they used a Ouija board and there was no paranormal consequences. There's a piece of me that wants to believe that Devin's basement is now haunted with a demon that ultimately possesses her, leading her to spike Kenny's drink in the next episode. That's very possible. Johnny must have done something, playing with it a little bit, and the catfishing. All of this leads to
mhm.
some bad juju. And finally, the good. I really hope that parts two and three provide a little more development for Quan, Yoon, and some of the other Korean Cobras. So far, they've been given relatively little development, but that is likely the product of having introduced them rather late in the game. The little that we see of them really whets my appetite for more fleshed out backstories for them. And of course, that was a truly beautiful fight sequence, all while Kreese was simply smoking his cigar, stoking the flames of competition. I like that. Yeah, and also like to kind of add to like the how everything looks in that episode, man, go back and listen to Abe Martinez's interview where he talks about lighting and yeah, that episode has like blues and reds and all that. Just I love the way he breaks colors down. Um, in the shots as well. Ron adds to Randy's um, comment. He says, minor correction, they didn't go to Lodi. The robbery and assault Miyagi did happened in Lodi, but the boxing gym was in LA. Amanda mentions getting French dip sandwiches at Philippe's nearby after they check out the gym. Philippe's is a real place in downtown LA. It's been there for many decades and is known for its French dip sandwiches. Open 24 hours, been there a few times, good stuff. And Randy, thanks
Right.
for the correction clarification. So there you go. If I just went down a little bit further,
Uh,
they did touch on that. Now, anything else to add to Randy's comments?
no,
Nope. Okay. All
I'm good.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Randy. Next one comes from Dorian. He says, my favorite episode so far, two Lethal Weapon references. Finally. Thank you, Mateo, Olga, and Emily. Ralph did a first-rate directing job. Mr. Miyagi's enigmatic box backstory caught me off guard at first, but now I get it. Everyone has shades of gray, and no one is off limits, not even Nariyoshi. The Sam Tori apology was so poignant. Mary and Peyton were terrific. And
Hmm.
finally, the main reason this is my favorite episode, Juan, my new favorite character. This Cobra Kai student is the character we've been waiting for. Charismatic, dangerous, and unpredictable. Juan is fully fledged, all-in fighter. Watch out, Miyagi-Do. And Dorian is Miyagi-Do too. So again, like you got a lot of us, like kind of lifelong Miyagi-Do saying like, "Hey, can we sit at you guys' table? Like let's just play with the cool kids for a little bit." I really love it. Um, the last feedback comes from Jera. She says, "Love this episode. The fact that Ralph directed it makes it even better. Carmen and Johnny having a girl is awesome, as shown in the slumber party scenes. Even though he was meddling and trying to cause drama, you can see that he will be a great girl dad. Sam and Tori finally having their apology moment was great. I don't really have any theories about Mr. Miyagi's secret. I just hope that whatever it is doesn't ruin my respect for him. I trust TB3. I am also really looking forward to Kwan's storyline. Can't wait to see more of Brandon's martial arts skills. Thank you, Jared, for that. And yeah, I think this is no secret. We've seen the love on social media too. A lot of people really like Kwan. He's yeah, instantly become a fan favorite. I don't know if
Definitely,
I've
yeah.
I don't know if I've seen anybody that has disliked the character. Have you?
No, come to think of it, no.
Yeah. If it does
Everyone,
the most negative
there's some
thing,
people like, Robbie will beat him or
right,
Miguel
that's
can
it.
take him,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but like everyone like is pumped for it. So,
Yeah. I think I I'm gonna throw this out as a theory because I haven't seen this like as a leak. I haven't read anything, but I've just seen like people in my comments and I can't really stop that and I just block the ones that I think might be a bit of a nuisance but people keep talking about like characters getting hurt or whatever and
hmm,
but we've characters get hurt in every season in most episodes but if we're talking about like another um you know M- Miguel season 2 light like a la 210 yeah I can see like Juan being like the catalyst for that or something. So
yeah,
let's do it,
yeah.
man. Hey, let my man kick some ass, and he'll get his at the end, and maybe he just loses the guy. Who knows? So really looking forward to it. Watch party. Anything else you could think of we might have forgotten? I do did remember that the Karate Kid Street Rumble game came out. If you like the old school 80s, early 90s side scrolling, like The Simpsons, the Ninja Turtles in Time games, stuff like that,
Hmm.
Streets of Rage, it's very similar to that. And I think for the most part, people think it's fine. I think the criticism is kind of the price, and I'll leave it at that. If you're interested, look into it. I enjoyed it. Again, shout out to Game Mill. They reached out and uh, hooked me up so I can help promote it. And we had a good time. Me and my 12-year-old, we were taking turns on playing it. So it did really take me back to those old games. So for what it's worth, I'll let you guys look into it. I thought the price might be a little much myself, but it was still fun.
Game fun, price not
Yeah,
withstanding.
right.
Yeah.
Game fun, price not so good.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have any videos in the works that people can keep an eye out on?
I want to get back and make another Miyagi video. Just sort of a follow up to the last one, which I made just before the season dropped, and basically digging into more of this stuff. This stuff Mike, brought up. Now looking at the whole Jim Watkins of Lodi, that the difference that Miyagi drove 6 hours for that, I think is very significant. I think we can basically put it all together now. So I'm probably going to put that together in a video.
Yeah. Um, Not a lot of content has been released from Netflix or Sony or the show. But if you have social media and you don't already, give Let's Be Water a follow on Instagram or on X, formerly known as Twitter. He's been putting out some really great stuff that's getting me excited. So hopefully,
Hmm.
yeah, you guys check it out. Recently, he just put out this let me try to describe it. It's like a young Miyagi photograph, the Sekai Takai, and
Hmm.
then you see blurred in the background is like the image or the photograph of Mr. Miyagi hanging inside the Miyagi-Do. So Great work as always, and he continues to one up himself every single time. So yeah, give our friend a follow. And he's putting out the content while we're kind of in a lull for that stuff as the
Mhm.
marketing team is ramping up for this next batch, 5 episodes. So that's gonna do it for this episode. And until the next episode, grab a sleeping bag. The Mr. T one's mine.